Chapter 688. The Six-Winged Golden Silkworm Advances. Father may do as he pleases. Lu Xinji saw his own father in deep thought and roughly understood his father's ideas, breaking the silence and saying, in his view, a profit of 20 spirit stones for a puppet was already quite satisfactory. Currently, the workshop's 3 production lines could produce about 8 to 10 puppets a month. That amounted to about 1 to 200 spirit stones, and over a year, that would be more than 2,000 spirit stones. Moreover, this income could gradually increase. All right, let's proceed with your idea in this matter, Lu Changsheng said with a light chuckle upon hearing this. He also understood that these matters should not be measured by his own standards of consumption. An annual yield of 2,000 spirit stones was already very decent for a foundation establishment family, especially since the puppet workshop was still in its initial stages. Once the reputation and credibility were established, the income would naturally increase. He patted his son on the shoulder and said, if you have any problems, go discuss them with your aunts, Pingon and Xianxia. As for opening a puppet store in the Red Leaf Marketplace, that's fine too. You can choose 2 knowledgeable apprentices to manage it, Lu Changsheng said as such. After finishing his words, he added, right, Xinji, remember to brand all the puppets with the name Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Puppets are inherently replicable. These 3 puppets were designed based on the current market for puppets in the cultivation world. If puppet masters from other families see that our puppets are good, they might replicate and produce them. Therefore, it was time to consider the effect of branding. Just like the red blood carp from Blue Lake Mountain, the paper talismans from Qingzhou Mountain, the centipede wine from Wugong Ridge, and the spiritual bird from Hundredbird's Lake, they all had a certain level of reputation. Yes, father. Upon hearing these words, Lu Xianxi's face immediately showed joy, and he responded with a bow. He knew that with his 9th grade spiritual root, his talent was not great, and he had no hope of a significant achievement in life, let alone reaching foundation establishment. Therefore, he spent most of his time and effort on puppets, hoping to achieve something in other areas. In the past 2 years, he focused entirely on the workshop, aiming to turn a profit as soon as possible. Now, with Lu Changsheng finally agreeing to mass-produce puppets and enter the market, his excitement was beyond measure. After inspecting the puppet workshop, Lu Changsheng went to check on his family's talisman workshop and wine brewing workshop. There were no changes in the talisman workshop. Earning 2 to 300 spirit stones a year by subcontracting for Qingzhou Mountain, it was merely for amusement. The wine brewing workshop, however, was doing quite well. It could steadily produce white jade wine and spiritual mulberry wine, and was starting to make a profit gradually. After the by-water rice harvest, Lu Changsheng had also spent some time using it as the main ingredient to create a wine called Blue Lake wine. It had the effect of nourishing the body and enhancing water-based cultivation techniques. However, the effects were not satisfactory when mass-produced by the workshop. And since the supply of by-water rice was limited in their family, Lu Changsheng dismissed the idea of mass production. Having spent a lot of time on research, Lu Changsheng used red blood carp as the main ingredient to create blue carp wine, which he was currently ready to put on the market to see how it would fare. Just then, Lu Changsheng felt a restless aura coming from his spiritual pet bag. With a slight sense, joy immediately showed in his eyes. He quickly excused himself to his son, Lu Qianxia, and his nephew, Hong Xuanji, and turned into a streak of light returning to Changsheng Hall. Arriving at his cave abode, Lu Changsheng opened the spiritual pet bag. A 2-inch-long, thin-winged golden silkworm made its appearance. It was bathed in golden light, emanating a brutal and bloodthirsty aura. Looking at the 6-winged golden silkworm in front of him, he took out 2 gourds from his storage bag. Both were filled with spiritual blood. He took out a white jade bowl and poured out the spiritual blood into it. Then he said to the 6-winged golden silkworm, begin. 14 years had passed, and the 6-winged golden silkworm was finally ready to advance from the larval stage to the adolescent stage under his care. From 1st grade to 2nd grade, Although it was still far from maturing and developing a second pair of wings, Lu Changsheng felt it was already quite an achievement. After all, this was the first second-grade spiritual pet he was raising by himself. Just like his first pet beast, the Nine Netherhound, which was still in the late stages of the first grade. SSSSS. Upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words, the six-winged golden silkworm quickly began devouring the spiritual blood within the white jade bowl. Boom! Simultaneously, a brutal and ferocious aura surged through the body of the six-winged golden silkworm as it absorbed nature's spiritual energy. However, the ascension of creatures from the demon race typically relies on their physical bodies and bloodlines, which means they do not have a significant need for nature's spiritual energy. Watching the six-winged golden silkworm swiftly finish off the spiritual blood in the jade bowl, Lu Changsheng wasn't stingy, continuing to pour out the spiritual blood from the gourd to let it feed to its fill. In this way, time slowly passed. An hour later, the aura of the six-winged golden silkworm suddenly surged, its body shining with a splendid golden light. Lu Changsheng calmly watched as the six-winged golden silkworm continued to devour spiritual blood, so he kept pouring from the gourd. It was fortunate he considered it a hassle and had directly purchased 6 gourds of demon beast blood in the past. Otherwise, he would have been unprepared for the six-winged golden silkworm's sudden promotion. As the aura of the six-winged golden silkworm continued to surge, a golden cocoon gradually formed around it, encasing the creature within. Is it going to molt inside the cocoon? Lu Changsheng looked at the fist-sized, blood-tinged golden cocoon before him and raised an eyebrow in curiosity. He didn't disturb the cocoon, but made sure there was plenty of spiritual blood nearby, in case the six-winged golden silkworm needed more. Sigh. I was so preoccupied with rescuing Xiaochan and Nangong Mealy that I completely forgot about the six-winged golden silkworm situation. Chapter 689. The six-winged golden silkworm advances. Father may do as he pleases. Lu Changsheng thought of Meng Xiaochan, whom he encountered on his way back from Jiuxiao, Immortal City. But at that time, all he remembered was to save people, and he forgot to ask about the six-winged golden silkworm. If the other party knew about the six-winged golden silkworm, or through understanding of insect, they could give him some advice, it might be beneficial to the growth of the six-winged golden silkworm. As he thought of Meng Xiaochan, Lu Changsheng also thought of Nangong Mealy and his daughter Nangong Yaoyao. He didn't know what situation his daughter was in now, nor how her life was. This daughter had grown up in the demon sect since childhood. Would she develop some kind of demonic woman's character? Considering Nangong Mealy and Meng Xiaochan, Lu Changsheng thought that this possibility was quite significant. Sigh. Lu Changsheng, thinking about his daughter turning into a demoness like those from the demon sect, felt quite troubled. He glanced at the six-winged golden silkworm and walked out of his cave abode. Through helping Ling Zixiao and Xianxia with their cultivation, he dispersed the worries in his heart. 1 month later, inside Changsheng Hall, his cave abode. Condense. Lu Changsheng activated the 100 Refinements treasure body art, with golden light flowing in his palm. Under the condensation of mana, the 100 steeds towering pagoda lock began to gradually assimilate with his palm. It took 3 days for the genuine magical treasure to merge into the bones of Lu Changsheng's hand, causing a chain pattern with a shadow of a ghostly horse to appear on the back of his hand. Not bad. The demonic path magical treasure is fairly decent too. It doesn't have too much of an impact. After Lu Changsheng finished condensing the 100 steeds towering pagoda lock, he moved his palm slightly and gave a slight nod. He knew that the main purpose of the 100 Refinements treasure body art was to extract the origin source of magical treasures, and it wouldn't affect the effectiveness of the treasures, unless he used the Baogu method to cultivate his treasure bones with the magic treasures. However, now having so many methods at his disposal, Lu Changsheng didn't plan to waste the origin source of the magical treasure to nourish his treasure bones, which was a life-saving method. Glancing at the six-winged golden silkworm still in its cocoon, Lu Changsheng walked out of Changsheng Hall and went to the Lu family mansion. Husband, Chu Xinjin had just seen Lu Changsheng and immediately called out to him with a look of grievance. "Xinjin, what's wrong?" Seeing his petite wife's expression, Lu Changsheng immediately asked with concern. Chu Xinjin was normally naive and lively, taking nothing to heart, always carefree and cheerful. Suddenly seeing her like this, Lu Changsheng thought something might have happened. "Husband, you tell Lu Qiuanjin." Chu Xinjin complained to Lu Changsheng, saying that their son Lu Qiuanjin wasn't listening to her at all. She saw that Lu Yun had already taken concubines, and Lu Miaoyun was arranging a marriage for their son. Naturally, she started caring about her own son's affairs as well. After all, Lu Qiuanjin was a year older than Lu Yun. When she approached Lu Qiuanjin about this matter, at first he agreed just fine. But after so much time has passed without any progress, he subsequently rejected all her arrangements and is now avoiding her, which made her feel very wronged. Cough, cough. Cultivators generally marry quite late. Plus, Qiuanjin is not that old. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng said so. He knew his son Lu Quanzhen's personality. Lu Qiuanjin had his opinions and goals, took his cultivation very seriously, and completely lacked the idea of marrying. Thus, as a father, he usually wouldn't push for marriage. But getting married doesn't affect cultivation, does it? Miaoyun said whatever Xiao Yun would listen to, but Qiuanjin won't listen to me at all now, and is even avoiding me. Chu Xinjin said, feeling very wronged. Cough, cough. Don't be upset. They'll talk to Qiuanjin later and ask about his thoughts. Lu Changsheng didn't quite know what to say in that moment. Compared to Lu Qiuanjin, his son Lu Yun was somewhat less decisive and listened to Lu Miaoyun's words a lot. This was also the difference between Lu Miaoyun and Chu Xinjin's personalities. Lu Miaoyun was quite strict with the children on a daily basis. However, even after so many years, Chu Xinjin still acted a bit like a child who hadn't grown up. Compared to Lu Qiuanjin, she seemed more childlike. Furthermore, Lu Changsheng strongly suspected that when Chu Xinjin said Lu Qiuanjin had agreed, it was likely because she nagged him until he could only reluctantly consent. After all, this son, when experiencing the secular world before, always reported the good and not the bad. Fearing that Chu Xinjin would learn of any minor harm he suffered, he didn't want to be nagged by her endlessly. Chu Xinjin, hearing this, immediately nodded happily. Although her son was rebellious and disobedient, she still trusted Lu Changsheng's words a lot. Plus, she knew her son always listened to his father's words. Then she also brought up their daughter Lu Yuzhen. This daughter was not young either, and could also consider marriage affairs. Yuzhen is just in Hushan town. Let's go see her later and ask for her own thoughts. Lu Changsheng said kindly. After chatting with his wife Chu Xinjin for a while, Lu Changsheng also took the opportunity to care about their son Lu Pinggan's progress with the 100 Refinements treasure body art. Seeing that his cultivation was still at the introductory stage, Lu Changsheng gave some guidance before telling him to continue cultivating seriously. Thinking of encouraging his son, he took out the black dragon magical bead and handed it to Lu Pinggan. He indicated that once the son was proficient with the technique, he could teach him to refine and incorporate the treasure into his body for cultivation. Dad, you're giving me this magical treasure. What about yourself? Don't you need it? Lu Pinggan, hearing about refining and integrating the magical treasure into his body, was shocked when Lu Changsheng actually handed a magical treasure to him. Though he was just a qi refinement cultivator, he also understood the significance of a magical treasure. No matter, I can make do with something else. Lu Changsheng, appearing gratified, waved his hand, saying so. Thank you, father. Lu Pinggan said with a face full of gratitude and a respectful tone. In his heart, he was resolved not to let his father down. In the blink of an eye, 10 days passed. That day, Lu Changsheng received news. At Wugong Ridge, the elder ancestor of the Zheng family had passed away. Chapter 690. The Su family has a daughter, the Dragon Emperor body. _1. The elder ancestor of the Zheng family has passed away in meditation. Lu Changsheng was not surprised by this news. A few years ago, he had already discerned that the elder ancestor of the Zheng family was nearing his end. It was for this very reason that the elder ancestor of the Zheng family had been continuously arranging affairs for the family in these recent years. Whether it was offering a junior as a concubine or relinquishing profits from the Red Leaf Valley marketplace or becoming a vassal to the beast-taming Su family. But it must be said that over these years, the elder ancestor of the Zheng family indeed devoted himself wholeheartedly to the family. Even though the Zheng family currently has no foundation building great cultivator in residence, no family dares to provoke Wugong Ridge in the short term. Yes, the elder ancestor of the Zheng family passed away peacefully in the family, which in the cultivation world is considered a joyful funeral. For this funeral, the Zheng family will prepare a grand ceremony, and they have indicated in their letter that the beast-taming Su family will also send representatives. Therefore, husband, if you have time, you should personally attend and offer your respects. Lu Miaoyun began, addressing Lu Changsheng. Foundation establishment cultivators have a lifespan of 240 years. But to live to 200 and pass away peacefully in meditation is considered dying a natural death, known as a joyful funeral. Yuner, when is the funeral to be held? Lu Changxing nodded and asked. Knowing that the Zheng family had invited neighboring families and powers to this funeral was also the Zheng family's way of borrowing strength from the Su family to show their stance. In 23 days, Lu Miaoyan stated, "All right, remind me again when the time comes." Lu Changxing nodded. He knew that for such matters, he, as the family head, must make the trip himself. Putting aside his own family's relationship with the Zheng family, just for the sake of the beast-taming Su family, he should also make the visit. After that, he informed his concubine Zheng Yongwan about the matter, asking her to accompany him when the time came. 20 days later, Lu Changsheng, accompanied by his concubine Zheng Yongwan, arrived at Wugong Ridge. The name Wugong Ridge might not sound too pleasant, but the environment was quite nice, with clear mountains and beautiful waters. It was named Wugong Ridge because it was abundant with spiritual insects. Particularly, a type of spiritual insect known as the iron-lined centipede was used by the Zheng family to brew centipede wine, which was a very successful business. The elder ancestor of the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family has arrived. The Zheng family host of the Mountain Gate spotted Lu Changsheng and immediately announced loudly. Subsequently, a Zheng family elder rushed over to invite Lu Changsheng to the Zheng family estate. The place had already been arranged in the style of a mourning hall, where clusters of family juniors dressed in white mourning clothes. Husband, Zheng Yongwan, upon viewing this scene, also showed a touch of sorrow and grief on her face. Although she had not spent much time with the Zheng family ancestor and did not have deep feelings, she was, after all, a legitimate descendant of the Zheng family and had grown up in Wugong Ridge under the protection of this elder ancestor. Grieve not. Lu Changsheng patted her hand and accompanied her to the front of the coffin, twisted 3 incense sticks, and solemnly bowed. Lu ancestor, this way please. There are 2 days left before the funeral. Yongwan, you may show Lu ancestor around the house. The Zheng family elder spoke respectfully, arranging for Lu Changsheng to rest. Normally, as a direct daughter of the family, someone like Zheng Yongwan should have helped out a little. But as she was Lu Changsheng's concubine, her status was established here, so it was impossible to have her do any such thing. An appropriate reception for Lu Changsheng would suffice. As the day of the funeral approached, people began to arrive one after another. 2 days later, Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang also arrived at Wugong Ridge to attend the funeral. Uncle Daoist Bai. Lu Changsheng saw the 2 men and greeted them with a cupped fist. Changsheng, Lu Daoist. Lu Mountain Lord, long time no see. Lu Yuanzhong and Bai Yunyang greeted Lu Changsheng. Besides the 2, many other family powers arrived, and upon seeing Lu Changsheng, they all greeted him. Soon after, Lu Changsheng and people from these foundation establishment families arranged by the Zheng family took their seats in a large hall to chat casually. Elder ancestor of the Yushui Su family has arrived. At that moment, a loud announcing voice came from outside. Soon after, Patriarch Zheng, accompanied by a tall, dignified man with hawk-like eyes dressed in a golden robe, walked into the hall. Following the man in the golden robe were two men and a woman. One of the women had a sorrowful countenance, while a man next to her had his arm around her shoulder, comforting her. Elder Ancestor Su has been seen. Greetings to Taoist Su. Great-grandfather. Many in the hall stood up and greeted the man in the golden robe with cupped fists. Lu Changsheng had perused the general information on the Yu Shui Su family. He knew that the man in the golden robe was named Su Ringguang, one of the foundation establishment ancestors of the Yu Shui Su family. Su pays respects to all Taoist friends here. The golden-robed man showed a cheerful and straightforward smile, cupping his hands and addressing everyone. After Elder Ancestor Su took his seat, the funeral banquet also began. During the midst of the convivial conversation, Lu Changsheng suddenly felt something and turned his head to look towards a woman sitting next to Elder Ancestor Su. This woman appeared to be around 20 years old, extremely beautiful, with soft, lustrous, fiery red hair and a beautifully ornate dress of red and gold. Her figure was exquisitely curvaceous. Lu Changsheng looked at the woman, clearly not because of her appearance or features. It was her divine sense, comparable to the peak of foundation establishment, that made him acutely aware that this woman had been observing him ever since she entered the hall. As if realizing that Lu Changsheng had noticed her, the red-haired woman drifted her gaze away elegantly, picked up her chopsticks gracefully, and began to chew on a slice of meat slowly and daintily. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng did not pay much mind. After all, it was quite normal for his charm to compel a woman to steal a few extra glances. However, he still noticed that the woman continued to sneak peeks at him. Just then, the red-haired woman whispered something to Su Ringguang. The next thing he knew, Su Ringguang approached Lu Changsheng with a glass of wine, his face wearing a polite smile, and said, "Master Lu, my granddaughter is preparing to tame a heavenly fire mink and requires the use of a second-rank mystical frost talisman." Chapter 691. The Su family has a daughter, the Dragon Emperor body. I wonder if Master Lu can draw a talisman. If it's possible, I'd like to trouble Master Lu to do so. Su Ringguang said politely, "Heavenly fire mink, mystical frost talisman." Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng glanced at the redhead woman next to him. He knew that beast tamers subdue pet beasts mostly through various means to make them submit. Methods such as the blood covenant, contract documents, beast control tokens, and the like are all considered inferior. Could it be that she was looking at me earlier because of the talisman? Lu Changsheng pondered to himself. Looking at Su Ringguang, he showed a hint of regret and said, "Lu Taoist, regarding the mystical frost talisman, I have never drawn it before, and I am not very confident. The mystical frost talisman is a second-rank, high-grade spirit talisman, which Lu Changsheng could naturally draw with ease. However, he seldom drew such a spirit talisman, and those booking second-rank talismans from him were already scheduled into next year. Without the other party promising any benefits, they expect me to help draw talismans? I wonder how much confidence Master Lu has. If he can draw it, my Su family will certainly be very grateful." Su Ringguang continued to say. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng glanced at the redhead woman again. He didn't expect that this person could actually make the elder ancestor of the Su family promise a handsome reward. It seemed that this redhead woman's status and identity within the Su family were quite extraordinary. After mulling it over for a moment, he said, "Well then, I shall try when I return. If there is any news, I will reply to Lu Taoist within 3 months." "How about that?" Lu Changsheng said this. "In that case, thank you, Lu Taoist. I raise a glass to you, Lu Taoist." Su Ringguang lifted his cup and expressed his thanks with a bow. Many people in the grand hall saw this scene and revealed a touch of envy in their eyes. They envied the Su family for being able to easily request Lu Changsheng to help draw talismans, and envied Lu Changsheng for his identity as a second-rank high-grade talisman master. Lu Taoist is too polite. Lu Changsheng lifted his cup and said. After he had eaten and drunk his fill, Lu Changsheng also learned about the identity of the redhead woman, the granddaughter of the elder ancestor of the Su family, Su Ruyan. Not only did she possess a fourth-grade spiritual root, but she also had an excellent talent for beast taming. Having just broken through to the energy refinement late stage, she tamed an earth-grade bloodline monster beast, the fire python tiger. She could be said to be the current gem in the palm of Yushui's Su family. Moreover, when Bai Yunyang mentioned this gem of the Su family, he also told an interesting story. After Su Ruyan tamed the fire python tiger, people from the main beast-taming Su family came wanting to take her back to the main family to cultivate. But Su Ruyan's father, Su Rengwang's son, had once been crippled by a direct descendant in the family competition who took away his spiritual pets. Thus, Su Ruyan refused to go back to the main family to cultivate. Furthermore, she declared her intention to seek justice for her father in the future. The Su family and others were arranged by the Zheng family in a quiet courtyard. Inside the courtyard's building, Hong Lian Sr., can you confirm it? Su Ruyan asked inwardly. You are not wrong in your perception. This person indeed has the aura of a heavenly ranked bloodline demon beast. Clearly, he has been in contact with heavenly ranked demon beasts for a long time. Moreover, this aura is somewhat mixed. This palace suspects he has more than one heavenly ranked bloodline demon beast. An ethereal, elegant, and gentle voice, like music from the heavens, rang out in Su Ruyan's mind. More than one. Su Ruyan showed a look of surprise in her beautiful eyes upon hearing this. She was well aware of the preciousness of heavenly grade bloodline spiritual beasts. Not to mention her Yushui Su family. Even the main family, beast-taming Su family, would find it extremely difficult to acquire a heavenly grade bloodline spiritual beast. And now, a mere foundation establishment family actually had multiple heavenly ranked demon beasts. If I could contract a heavenly ranked demon beast, then the beast technique could advance further, evolving into an orthodox level cultivation technique, forming the beastly Dao foundation. Su Ruyan's beautiful eyes shone with hope and desire. Her family was happy and complete when she was young. But when she was 7 years old and accompanying her father to visit the main beast-taming Su family for the family competition, she saw her own father being defeated by a direct descendant of the family, and even his spiritual pets were taken away. That battle also left her father crippled, dejected, and nearly reduced to a wastrel with no hope of foundation establishment. From that moment on, her heart harbored an additional goal: to seek justice for her father righteously in the family competition. Now, with supreme opportunity within her, she could see the hope of avenging her father. She inquired respectfully, Senior Hong Lian, do you have any way? The cultivation technique she practiced was called Beast Technique. This technique was highly esoteric, enabling her to enhance the power of her technique by the grade of contracted spiritual beasts. Moreover, it also allowed her to improve her own talents, foundation, and potential through contracting spiritual beasts. This person is not simple. I perceive a terrifying aura coming from him. He must have great fortune and secrets. The ethereal voice, like the music of the heavens, continued. Su Ruyan was shocked upon hearing this. She knew the prowess of Senior Hong Lian. This Lu Changsheng actually made Senior Hong Lian feel a terrifying aura. Senior Hong Lian, I have heard some rumors about this person. Su Ruyan immediately recounted some information about Lu Changsheng. Lower grade spiritual root, son-in-law living off his wife's family, many wives and concubines, numerous offspring, a master of the talisman path, and such rapid cultivation speed. Could it be the legendary Dragon Emperor body? The ethereal voice conveyed a hint of surprise and curiosity. Dragon Emperor body? Senior Hong Lian, what kind of spiritual body is that? I've never heard of it. Su Ruyan asked. I have also heard of this body. In the central state, Great Qian dynasty, there was a saint king who had 108 heavenly consorts and 3,000 beauties in his harem. It is said that this Saint King's constitution was known as the Dragon Emperor body. Not only was dual cultivation with men and women harmless to him, but it also allowed his thoughts to become clear, his cultivation to progress swiftly, with no bottlenecks to hinder him, and this constitution was most conducive to having children. His offspring were also more likely to be extraordinarily talented. Chapter 692. The Su family has a daughter, the Dragon Emperor body. The ethereal voice spoke in such a manner. There is actually such a physique in the world. Su Rian, upon hearing these words, also showed a look of surprise and doubt. Although she did not know much about spiritual bodies, she had heard and understood common physiques, including the five-element spiritual body. She had never heard of such a mysterious spiritual body before. After all, most cultivators practice abstinence as part of their cultivation regimen. Only a small number of heretic cultivators, or those who practice dual cultivation, by harvesting others' essence, would choose to indulge in desires. But such individuals would eventually have their foundations weakened by excessive dual cultivation and harvesting, and, at a certain realm, they would find it difficult to make any progress. This palace has only heard of such matters and is speculating as such. However, if this child is as you say, he must surely be a person with great fortune, said the voice. Such characters have many tricks up their sleeves. If you're trying to get a heaven-ranked demon beast from him, I'm afraid it will be extremely difficult, the ethereal voice said. Su Rian heard this and fell silent, her beautiful eyes deep in thought. The Zheng family's funeral lasted for 3 days. During this period, many matters were handled by the elder ancestor of the Su family. This was also a way for the Su family to show their stance to the outside world. The Zheng family was under the protection of the Yushui Su family. Although this Su family was not the beast-taming Su family, it was still strong enough to make many other forces weigh their decisions carefully. Lu Daoist, my granddaughter will be staying at Wugong Ridge for a while, said Su Ringguang to Lu Changsheng politely. If you manage to inscribe the mystical frost talisman, just send someone to inform us at Wugong Ridge, he said. Lu Changsheng, hearing this, glanced at Su Ruyan next to him, who had a delicate face, fiery red long hair, and a graceful figure, and nodded with a smile. Because of Zheng Yongwan, he had attended many ceremonies of the Zheng family's funeral over these 3 days. During that time, he keenly noticed that Su Ruyan looked at him from time to time. This kind of looking was different from the scrutiny in the Great Hall at the beginning. It contained a few indescribable meanings. This made Lu Changxing feel that there was something off about Su Ruyan. It wasn't because he was so charming that she looked at him from time to time. Although he didn't know what was going on with her, Lu Changsheng became extra cautious and wary of Su Ruyan in his heart. As the funeral of the Zheng family came to an end, Lu Changxing also took Zheng Yongwan back to Bai Lake Mountain. Just after returning to Bai Lake Mountain, Lu Changsheng received some news. The dragon carp inn by Shui Lake had emerged, and it was caught by his daughter, Lu Wangshu. At this, Lu Changxing looked at the system interface to see that his daughter Lu Wangshu already had 41% fishing talent, leaving him somewhat at a loss for words. He could only hope that his daughter would also have this much interest in the talisman path in the future. Lu Changsheng looked at the dragon carp. It was currently the size of a forearm, with its entire body covered in scales emanating a golden luster, appearing quite extraordinary. Seeing this dragon carp, Lu Changxing very much wanted to refine it into a blackwater dragon fish Dao soldier. But remembering his promise to his wife and children, that the first dragon carp caught would be cooked at home, he considered that the dragon carp was still too small, enough for perhaps a 3-person family meal at best. So, Lu Changsheng decided to keep the dragon carp in the fish farm, planning to raise it for a few years. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Congratulations to the host for the birth of a spiritual root descendant. You have earned 1 lottery opportunity. That day, a system notification sounded, accompanied by a faint tremor. This seems to be the 39th, isn't it? 39, and only the first child with a spiritual root. And this spiritual root fluctuation, it should also just be a lower grade spiritual root. Upon hearing this system prompt, Lu Changsheng's brows furrowed slightly. He felt that the chance for his third generation to have a spiritual root was too low. However, thinking of his own children who were giving birth, none of whom had a spiritual root, his heart felt slightly relieved. Under the circumstances where neither parent had a spiritual root, having a spiritual root in the 39th child was already considered a decent probability. Perhaps it was thanks to the spirit rice that his children ate regularly, constantly nourished by spiritual energy. System draw prize. Without overthinking it, Lu Changsheng opened the system to begin the draw. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining a 4th rank elixir medicine. Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir. The reward has been issued to system space. The host can check it at any time. An elixir icon emerged from the big wheel, accompanied by a system notification tone. Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir. When Lu Changsheng saw the prize he drew, his eyebrows raised. This was an elixir he had never heard of before. With a slight stirring of his mental spirit, he looked toward the system space for the effects of this elixir. Elixir. Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir. Quality. 4th rank. Description. As long as a cultivator's soul has not dissipated, upon taking this elixir, one can regenerate flesh from bones and fuse the soul back to life. 4th rank elixir. When Lu Changsheng saw the grade and effect of this elixir, he couldn't help but inhale sharply. Most of the rewards he had obtained so far were of the 3rd rank. It was only the life-substituting talisman he drew earlier, with good luck, that he had obtained a 4th rank reward. He didn't expect to draw another 4th rank elixir today, and certainly the effects of this elixir were extraordinary. After a cultivator dies, the soul can still exist for a period of time. Thus, high-rank cultivators, when killing, aim to destroy both the body and soul to ensure there are no future troubles. Especially in the demon path, after killing someone, they capture the victim's soul for cultivating techniques or for refining magic artifacts. And with this elixir, even if a person is dead, as long as their soul hasn't been completely annihilated, taking the elixir would allow them to regenerate from their bones and come back to life. This effect is simply terrifying. It can be said to be a truly life-saving miracle medicine. However, being ranked as a 4th rank elixir makes it seem somewhat redundant. In battles between nascent soul immortals, one has to strike down the opponent until both body and soul are dispersed. And a nascent soul true lord wouldn't possibly allow someone I've heard that a nascent soul true lord not only has a lifespan of over 1,000 years, but also possesses all sorts of inconceivable methods. One such method is known as body seizure reincarnation. The books say that all the mana and divine skills of a nascent soul true lord are contained within the nascent soul itself. And even if their body is completely destroyed and their soul shattered, as long as the nascent soul survives, they can seize another body and be reborn. And nascent soul true lords have mastery over the power of the void, their nascent souls capable of escaping into it, with no restrictions or techniques able to hold them back, possessing an extremely strong ability to preserve their own lives. Lu Changsheng muttered to himself. Knowledge about the nascent soul mainly came from his usual reading. On the other hand, it was through the cultivation techniques he obtained from the system draws, knowing a thing or two from their descriptions. Nevertheless, as precious and powerful as it is, it's somewhat redundant for me at the moment. Lu Changsheng looked at the Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir, sighed deeply, and simply placed the elixir in the system space to collect dust, planning to take it out only when there was a need for it. Chapter 693. The Demonic Seven Sects, Sending a Clock to the Four Great Families. _1 This day, Lu Changsheng learned of the news about Azure Phoenix Immortal City through Xianxia. They too faced a surge of demon beasts, and even 3 heaven-ranked demon kings attacked Azure Phoenix Immortal City. This battle nearly resulted in the city being breached. However, the most reclusive, loose cultivator of Jiang country, the Azure Phoenix Immortal, re-emerged into public view after many years of silence. With a 3rd-ranked Qingwan, 500 Qing Yuan Dao soldiers in tow, she ferociously battled the 3 great heaven-ranked demon animals. After months of intense fighting, the Azure Phoenix Immortal finally killed the Ironback Kuei Bear and severely wounded the Diamond Ape King, bringing an end to the Beast Tide. The message indicates that if the Beast Tide hadn't been so severe, nearly breaching Azure Phoenix Immortal City, with the strength of the Azure Phoenix Immortal and riding the wave of victory with 500 Qing Yuan Dao soldiers, there was even a hope to kill the Diamond Ape King. Xianxia spoke out, saying thus. Even she was astonished upon receiving this news, for the bloodline grade of demon beasts determines the upper limit of their strength. Like a third-ranked demon king with a heavenly grade bloodline, whose strength corresponds to a nascent soul cultivator with a superior gold core. Each one possesses frightening combat power. Yet the Azure Phoenix Immortal fought 3 alone, managing to slay one and severely wound another. It was nothing short of astounding. 3 heaven-ranked demon kings almost breached Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng drew a deep breath, understanding how fierce and perilous the battle was. He looked at Xianxia and continued to ask, Xiu, the strength of this Azure Phoenix Immortal must not be far from making a breakthrough to nascent soul, right? I'm not sure about that. There are rumors that the Azure Phoenix Immortal has been in closed-door cultivation these years, preparing for the assault on nascent soul. There are also rumors that years ago, the Azure Phoenix Immortal delved deep into the Myriad Beast mountain range and suffered severe injuries, spending these years to recuperate. However, judging from the strength she displayed now, it's estimated she's not far from a breakthrough to nascent soul. Xianxia said in a low voice. If this Azure Phoenix Immortal breaks through to nascent soul, I fear the entire situation in Jiang country will undergo change, Lu Changsheng said with some emotion. In the Jiang country cultivation realm now, only the Heavenly Sword sect had a nascent soul true lord to preside over it. If the Azure Phoenix Immortal, a loose cultivator, achieves nascent soul, it's feared that not just the whole of Jiang country, but even the neighboring cultivation realms would be shaken. After all, each nascent soul, true lord, can influence the landscape of a country, of a cultivation realm. This made Lu Changsheng think of the Xianxia true monarch of the Heavenly Sword sect, also a fierce figure. In the beginning, facing the invitation to battle from the 3 great demon sects of Jin Kingdom, he fought alone against 2 nascent soul, true monarchs. The result being he almost slew the 5 Poisons cult leader, possessing truly astonishing combat power. This Azure Phoenix Immortal seeking a breakthrough to nascent soul must be immensely difficult. Azure Phoenix Immortal City only has a 3rd-ranked spirit vein, which is simply inadequate for assaulting nascent soul. Even if she temporarily elevates the spiritual energy to 4th rank through methods, it is still quite forced. Moreover, with Azure Phoenix Immortal City close to the Myriad Beast mountain range, once she attempts to attack nascent soul, there will definitely be demon kings attacking, and the 4 great immortal sects, Heavenly Sword sect, Qingyun sect, Spirit Taming sect, and Wuxia sect, wouldn't want to see the Azure Phoenix Immortal achieve nascent soul, unless she is willing to join one of the 4 great immortal sects. Ling Zixiao held her teacup, her demeanor dignified and elegant, her voice clear as she spoke. Indeed, Lu Changsheng nodded, understanding the principle. It's already quite remarkable for the Azure Phoenix Immortal to rise powerfully as a loose cultivator and establish Azure Phoenix Immortal City. As a loose cultivator, no power wanted to see her break through to nascent soul, because resources in the cultivation world are limited. With each new person, a share of the bounty must be divided up. Yet this Beast Tide should have a major issue. As far as I recall, there hasn't been such an exaggerated Beast Tide for nearly a century. Ling Zixiao frowned slightly, saying so. Indeed, there's a problem. The main target of this Beast Tide was the Spirit Taming sect, not Azure Phoenix Immortal City. The news I received indicates that the Spirit Taming sect suffered heavy losses in this battle, Not only were several lines of defense breached, innumerable disciples died or were injured, but also 2 nascent soul immortals and 1 sect guardian spiritual beast were killed, a massive blow to their strength. Were it not for the support from the Qingyun sect, Wuxia sect, and Heavenly Sword sect, the defenses might have been breached. I even suspect that a 4th-ranked Great Demon King has emerged within the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Only such a force could stir up such a beast tide, Xianxia said out loud. 2 nascent soul immortals have died? I had heard that the spirit-taming sect only had 6 nascent soul immortals to begin with. Now 2 have died? Upon hearing this, Lu Chongxing couldn't help but click his tongue. In the Jiang country cultivation realm, nascent soul immortals are top figures wherever they are. Like families and powers presided over by a nascent soul immortal, they are known as cultivation noble houses. But now the spirit-taming sect has lost 2 nascent soul immortals and a 3rd-ranked spiritual beast in just 1 battle, which is absolutely dreadful. Yes, now the spirit-taming sect only has 4 nascent soul immortals left. However, the spirit-taming sect also has 2 3rd-ranked sect guardian spiritual beasts. The sect's foundation is deep, Xianxia said thus. The cultivation world in these years is truly in an era of frequent turmoil. The invasion incident of the Jin Kingdom demon path hasn't passed long. And now, such a horrific beast tide has risen. Lu Chongshang took a deep breath and sighed. In earlier years, he thought the cultivation world was relatively stable. It seems now that the cultivation world has never been at peace, always churning with undercurrents. It's just that his strength was too low before, and his channels of information were limited. He was unaware of many things. Just like the news from the direction of Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Had he not asked Xianxia to pay more attention, he would still be unaware now. My lord, turbulence is the norm in the cultivation world. In our Jiang country's west, called the Western region, it belongs to a chaotic area with 100 nations existing together, humans and demons cohabiting, with wars and chaos every year, nations being destroyed. Chapter 694. The Demonic 7 Sects, Sending a Clock to the 4 Great Families. Our Jiang country, 50 years ago, also waged war with Yu country and invaded Yin country. Ling Zixiao spoke, saying so. That's right, in the cultivation world, wars tend to break out every few decades, but the geographical location of our Jiang country is quite advantageous. To the west, we have the western regions. To the north, the natural barrier of the Great Dream Marsh. To the south, Yu country is a righteous nation friendly to us and also guarded by the natural barrier of the Myriad Beasts mountain range. The only threats to be wary of are the demon path of Jin Kingdom and the tide of demon beasts from the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Xianxia said, speaking out loud. So, as long as there is no major war, our Jiang country is relatively safe. Lu Chongshang heard this and chuckled lightly. Indeed, as long as there isn't a war on the scale of the past conflict with the demonic 7 sects, the impact on Jiang country shouldn't be too great. Of course, if Jin Kingdom were to produce another nascent soul true lord, the situation might change. Ling Zixiao said with a light smile. Demonic 7 sects? Upon hearing this, Lu Chongsheng showed a hint of surprise on his face. He had read many books and knew a bit about the southern wilderness cultivation realm, but he had never heard of these demonic 7 sects. Yes, the demonic 7 sects. I once read in a notebook that 800 years ago, 7 powers from the southern wilderness cultivation realm formed an alliance, waged war, and invaded other countries. That war was incredibly brutal, nearly affecting half of the southern wilderness cultivation realm, with countless countries and powers falling. Not only did nascent soul immortals fall, but even nascent soul true lords perished. Ling Zixiao picked up her tea, took a light sip, and said with a hint of emotion, I seem to have read about this war in the histories of the southern wilderness, which mentioned it was a great battle between righteousness and the demonic path, with the demonic path eventually being repelled by the united righteous powers. Lu Chongshang said, frowning slightly, Yes, that's the war. I saw in the notebook that in just a few years, the demonic Seven Sect conquered several countries, sweeping through and nearly claiming a quarter of the southern wilderness cultivation realm, forcing many countries and immortal sects of the righteous path to form an alliance and unite to rebuff the demonic Seven Sects. The war was exceptionally brutal, ending only when the demon which sect's nascent soul elder perished, prompting the remaining 6 sects to retreat. Xianxia recounted slowly. The demon which sect, an elder in the later stages of the nascent soul, perished. Xianxia realized the extent of the war's ferocity only after hearing these words. The history book he read about the southern wilderness mentioned the war only briefly. He hadn't realized it ended with the fall of a late-stage, nascent, soul great cultivator. Xiao, besides the demon which sect, what were the other 6 sects called? Xianxia asked curiously. They seem to be named the Demonic Sect, Holy Lotus Cult, Bloodsea Sect, Myriad Beast Demon Sect, Netherworld Ghost Sect, and Azure Sky Demon Sect. Xiao said after a moment of contemplation. Due to her dragon roar physique, she often read a wide variety of books, but even so, she couldn't remember these details very clearly. In the 800 years since then, these demonic 7 sects must still exist, right? Xianxia continued to inquire. I'm not too sure either. I only came across this part of history in the notebook. Sects like the Heavenly Sword Sect and the Qingyun Sect have legacies spanning thousands of years. Even though the demonic 7 sects suffered heavy losses back then, except for the demon which sect, the remaining 6 sects all had nascent soul stage elders, so it's hard to imagine their legacies coming to an end. Xiao elaborated. Let's hope a war of that scale doesn't happen in the future, Xianxia sighed. He felt that if such a major war were to break out, he would need to be at least at the nascent soul stage to protect his family. Otherwise, even a nascent soul, immortal, might perish in such a conflict. At that moment, Xianxia recognized that his power, when compared to the entire Qingyun region, was quite commendable. But when considering the entire Jiang country cultivation realm, or even the whole southern wilderness cultivation realm, it was not sufficient. Nascent soul, despite his confidence in his future, he couldn't predict when he might achieve a nascent soul breakthrough. After all, the entire Jiang country cultivation realm currently only had one nascent soul true lord, which spoke to the difficulty of reaching that stage. He didn't ponder long and continued chatting with Xiao and Xianxia about matters of the cultivation world. Even though he read quite a lot of books regularly, compared to Xiao, he felt rather inferior. So talking with Xiao was also an opportunity to gain much knowledge. Azure Phoenix, Immortal City. Despite the heavy casualties in the onslaught of the Beast Tide, Azure Phoenix Immortal City managed to recover its usual bustle and hustle within a few months. After all, to lose cultivators, death was a norm. As long as Azure Phoenix Immortal City and the Azure Phoenix Immortal existed, offering 2nd and 3rd rank cave dwellings, Foundation establishment elixirs, and other rare elixir medicines and treasures, there would always be a steady stream of cultivators arriving at Azure Phoenix Immortal City, forming the foundation of the city. Moreover, not everyone shares the same joy and sorrow. Those cultivators who survived the Beast Tide gained substantially, with faces alight with joy. In a humble courtyard of the outer city, this 3 Suns elixir truly deserves to be a 2nd rank rare spirit pill. It not only allowed me to break through to the 9th level of energy refinement, but has also healed all the hidden injuries and issues I accumulated over the years in the practice room. Li Feiyu opened his eyes, and his handsome face revealed a trace of happiness. He had been seriously injured in the Battle of the Beast Tide, but managed to survive with his body refinement. Now that the Beast Tide had subsided, Azure Phoenix Immortal City fulfilled its promise of rewarding based on merit, settling the dues for everyone involved. With these merits, he exchanged for a 3 Suns elixir. Chapter 695. The Demonic 7 Sects, sending a clock to the 4 great families. Not only had his cultivation level advanced further, but he had also resolved the hidden dangers from his injuries and the consumption of a second-rank monster core during previous battles. Although this merit is not small, it's still far from enough to achieve foundation establishment. As Li Feiyu thought about the path ahead, a sense of gravity appeared on his face. Through his endeavors in Azure Phoenix Immortal City, he had gained some understanding of foundation establishment. He came to a profound realization of the difficulty he would face in attempting to break through to foundation establishment. He possessed only a 7th grade spiritual root. With a lower grade spiritual root, when breaking through the 3 barriers of foundation establishment and transforming spiritual power into mana, the conversion efficiency is too slow, proving to be a burden. Therefore, for those with a lower grade spiritual root to break through to foundation establishment, they must have a foundation establishment elixir and foundation establishment spiritual objects linked to the magic barrier with only a 10 to 20% chance of success. And with his current merits, he could at most exchange for 1 foundation establishment spiritual object. Xianxia has already achieved foundation establishment. How can I allow myself to fall behind? I still have more than 10 years. What difficulty would there be in striving to procure a foundation establishment elixir in this time? Under Li Feiyu's dark brows, his eyes were deep and bright, exuding an unstoppable determination. The vast clear sky was as pure as a washed sapphire, the azure heaven untouched by a single cloud. Among the cloud borders, a spirit boat shuttled along with 6 cultivators aboard, men and women alike. Leading them was a man with a rebellious face and a physique as imposing as a mountain, who radiated a fierce and bandit-like aura in his red robe. He looked at a youth aboard the spirit boat, around 27 or 28 years old, with a hint of violence between his brows, and said, "Little brother, in half a month, we will arrive at the Red Leaf Valley Market you spoke of. Have you thought about how to resolve it?" The brawny man said with a sonorous voice and a wild look on his face, "Big brother, my parents died in that Red Leaf Valley Market, so I want the entire market and the 4 major families backing it to accompany my parents in death as a sacrifice to their spirits." Upon hearing this, Fang Ye's brows were filled with violence, and hatred flickered in his eyes. 10 years ago, his parents, in order to prepare foundation establishment resources for him, chose to loot the marketplace. As a result, both of them perished at Red Leaf Valley Market. While he was fleeing alone, the blood feud of his parents constantly spurred him on. Through countless brushes with death, he finally made some gains, chancing upon an opportunity in an ancient cave dwelling, breaking through to foundation establishment. Later, he even gathered several sworn brothers and a Dao companion in the Imperial Spirit Sex domain due to a beast tide. Especially after the eldest brother and his Dao companion learned of his thirst for revenge, inquired about the cause, and expressed a willingness to help him avenge his parents, he was deeply moved. "Good, worthy of little brother indeed, truly domineering. Let's do it the way you suggested." A rough and unrestrained voice echoed. "This Red Leaf Valley Market, as little brother said, is just made up of a few foundation establishment families. With all of us brothers going there, aren't they easy to manipulate?" Another voice, leaning towards the cold, rang out. "With our older brothers present, surely they will be easy to manipulate, but these families all have great formations protecting them. If we make consecutive moves, we might even attract people from Qinyan's sect. Brother you, do you have any tokens to send to these 4 families to let them know you've returned, to keep them constantly anxious? Once they gather, or if we manage to lure them together, we'll find an opportunity to eradicate them all in one fell swoop." The peach-dressed woman by Fang Ye's side spoke out. "Little sister, this proposal isn't bad at all. In that case, when the time comes, we'll send a clock to these 4 families and tell them little brother is back, to let them know they will repay their debts in blood, to get cleaned up and wait for death. Kekekek." As someone heard the suggestion, they immediately laughed boisterously. "All right then, when the time comes, we'll send a clock to these 4 families as a harbinger of their end." Fang Yu, hearing this, displayed a cruel smile. Then, Looking at the sky with eyes full of malevolence, he muttered, "Dad, Mom, your son will use Red Leaf Valley Market, the 4 major families, to sacrifice to your spirits in heaven. By Lake Mountain, Chongqing Hall, inside the cave dwelling." Clang, clang, clang. Lu Changsheng heard the noise and gazed at the golden cocoon. As the clear and resonant sounds of clinking and clashing rose incessantly, the golden cocoon began to crack. Boom! The golden cocoon exploded with a bang, and infinite radiance surged forth. A 6-winged golden silkworm, its body shimmering with golden light, appeared. After its promotion to the 2nd rank, there had been no significant change. Its body had grown from the original 2 inches to 4 or 5 inches, glistening throughout, and its wings, thin as cicadas, sported strands of golden patterns. The whole gave off the impression of an invincible and indestructible aura. After advancing to the 2nd rank, what changes are there? Lu Changsheng looked at the 6-winged golden silkworm in front of him and asked aloud. Though the 6-winged golden silkworm was known for its ferocity and brutality, with hardly any spiritual intelligence to speak of through systematic training, Lu Changsheng could still communicate simply with it. But as soon as the 6-winged golden silkworm heard Lu Changsheng's words, it spat out a beam of golden light, sharp as an arrow. Boom! The beam struck the wall of the cave abode, leaving behind a black, scorching gap. As expected of an ancient rare insect species, just having ascended to the 2nd rank, it boasts such an attack power. This cave abode was constructed mainly from void Xian stones and inscribed with spiritual pattern formations. While not as hard as spiritual artifacts, it's comparable to a magic artifact. Moreover, within this golden light, besides its sharpness, there's also a true fire essence that can scorch and corrode one's body and soul. Lu Changsheng examined the spot where the 6-winged golden silkworm attacked, his face showing delight. He clearly recognized the terror of the 6-winged golden silkworm's offensive capabilities. An average Foundation establishment cultivator facing such attacks would likely disintegrate body and soul if careless. As if understanding Lu Changsheng's encouragement, the 6-winged golden silkworm shook its body, and the gold light around it exploded exponentially, taking on the appearance of a massive golden cup. Clang, clang, clang. Lu Changsheng tapped on the 6-winged golden silkworm's body with his finger. He then pulled out a superior magic artifact and chopped at the 6-winged golden silkworm. But the magical sword collided with the golden silkworm, resulting only in a noise reminiscent of clashing metal. Slash! Lu Changsheng circulated his mana and spurred the magical sword to continue slashing at the 6-winged golden silkworm. Yet, like a golden cup, the golden silkworm remained completely unyielding. Even after being chopped twice, the golden silkworm became slightly restless, its body emanating a ferocious and savage, bloodthirsty aura. This was Lu Changsheng, its master, and it was able to control itself. If it were anyone else, it would have attacked by now. Such a physique is not weaker than a lower-grade spiritual artifact, even stronger than average spiritual artifacts by a margin. Lu Changsheng put away the magical sword and took out a gourd filled with spiritual blood to feed the 6-winged golden silkworm. After a simple test, he had gained a clear understanding of the 6-winged golden silkworm's strength. For the likes of the Yu family, Lu Yuanzhong, by Yunyang, and those at the Foundation establishment level, facing the 6-winged golden silkworm meant almost certain death. Because their cultivation level and strength were unlikely to break through the 6-winged golden silkworm's defenses, and facing its attack, they would have difficulty defending. However, if they fled immediately upon encounter, there was still a good chance they could escape. After the 6-winged golden silkworm had eaten its fill, Lu Changsheng put it back into the spiritual pet bag and walked out of Chongqing Hall. Husband, just at that moment, Lu Miaoyan rushed over hurriedly to inform Lu Changsheng of a piece of news. Chapter 696. I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. Underscore, the remnants of the robber cultivator from the Red Leaf Valley Market. Sending a bell? Blood for blood. May you journey well in the Yellow Springs. As Lu Changsheng heard Lu Miao's words and looked at the copper bell in his hand, with residual foundation establishment late-stage mana, his brow furrowed slightly. He thought to himself, do robber cultivators nowadays play like this? Facing such a situation, should I shout, aside from nascent soul immortals, who dares to act against our 4 major families? Who dares to curse me with a bell? Investigate this for me. Yuner, did you see who brought this bell here? Lu Changsheng asked aloud. Xiaoyu was guarding the mountain gate when the bell directly smashed in front of it, and no trace of a person was seen. So this is most likely the doing of a Foundation establishment cultivator. Lu Miaoyan replied with pursed lips. Lu Changxing nodded thoughtfully after hearing this. A Foundation establishment cultivator coming to do this and deliberately leaving behind a trail of Foundation establishment late-stage magic aura was obviously not a mere prank. Although such an event wasn't taken seriously by Lu Changsheng, even to the point of thinking the other party had issues in the head, this matter was not aimed at by Lake Mountain. Rather, it was targeted at the Red Leaf Valley Market and the 4 major families. Therefore, Lu Changsheng still had some worries for Qingzhou Mountain and Lu Miaoga. After all, if the other party indeed had a Foundation establishment late-stage cultivator, they posed a certain threat to Qingzhou Mountain and Red Leaf Valley Market, especially the Red Leaf Valley Market. The market was always open to the public. If a Foundation establishment robber cultivator infiltrated, it would be quite troublesome. Yuner, send messages to Qingzhou Mountain, 100 Birds Lake, and the Zheng family to see what they think, Lu Changxing suggested after a moment's thought. If our family received this bell, the other 3 families surely did as well. Yes, my lord, Lu Miaoyan responded, nodding her head and going to send a communication talisman. Afterward, Lu Changsheng, holding the copper bell, went to consult Ling Zixiao and Xianxia for their opinions. This person dares to act this way, either because they're pretending to be mysterious or they truly possess extraordinary strength, completely disregarding our families, Ling Zixiao said calmly and elegantly after examining the bell. She was aware of Lu Changsheng's strength and was not particularly concerned about the matter. Moreover, her health had improved a lot over the past few years of treatment. Combined with the newly repaired family's great formation, unless it was a nascent soul immortal attacking the formation, there was nothing to fear. Changsheng, if you need it, I can report this matter to the sect and request that they send someone to investigate, Xiaoxia said softly. Although matters like this were generally not managed by Qingyun's sect unless they escalated, if she went to report it, they could still send someone to investigate. These people dare to act in such a way. Obviously, they're not afraid of Qingyun's sect coming to investigate. Moreover, Qingyun's sect would probably only send 1 or 2 Foundation establishment cultivators to oversee and investigate, right? Lu Changsheng said aloud. Through the previous incident with Xiaohong money, he knew the sect would get involved in such matters, but they usually only handled it after the fact. After all, causing a big incident within one's own territory was equivalent to slapping Qingyun's sect in the face. But if there's just a threatening bell and nothing has actually happened, expecting Qingyun's sect to send someone to resolve it would likely be extremely difficult. Given the vastness of the cultivation world, and enemies not yet revealing themselves, finding someone is very difficult. Qingyun's sect likely wouldn't bother. For matters like this, the sect usually only sends Foundation establishment cultivators to investigate or to be stationed, Xiaoxia said, lips slightly parted. These robber cultivators might be bold and arrogant, but not a single one is foolish. They dare to act this way because they're not afraid of the Qingyun sect's investigation. Now that the enemy is hidden and we are exposed, we can only wait for them to show themselves. Ling Zixiao spoke out loud. I'm not so worried about this matter. I'm mainly concerned about Qingzhou Mountain, 100 Birds Lake, and Sister Miaja's situation, Lu Changxing said. This is indeed troublesome. Ling Zixiao nodded slightly, propped up her chin with her jade arm, and mused, "My lord, in my view, there are three possibilities why this robber cultivator acts this way. One is that they possess absolute power and completely disregard us, using this method for revenge. After all, many madmen seeking revenge like to display themselves in this way. Another is that it's all smoke and mirrors. Considering this person's identity, a remnant of the robber cultivator from 10 years ago, the fact that they didn't show themselves indicates that at the most, they were at the peak of chi refinement. 10 years have passed, and even with some opportunity, they could at most be at middle-stage foundation establishment. Such strength is insufficient for revenge. Hence, they use these tactics to intimidate and trouble us. Lastly, it might be a method to confuse us, keeping us worried and alert for some time until we let our guard down, and then strike unexpectedly, either against Red Leaf Valley Market or one of the families." Ling Zixiao stated slowly. "I think there's another possibility," Xianxia, with her cool and noble demeanor, said. "Considering the current information, this remnant of the robber cultivator is likely not alone. They want revenge against Red Leaf Valley Market and the 4 families behind it. But in the Qingyan region, annihilating someone else's family without cause is viewed as an act of the demon path, especially if they act against the marketplace. So these people wanting to act against both the marketplace and the 4 families simultaneously is difficult. They can only target one family. Once they make their move, the other families will be on alert, drawing Qingyun's sect's intervention. So even if they possess absolute power, it will be troublesome to continue targeting the remaining major families after, only to flee and hide under Qingyun's sect's pursuit. Their actions, aside from arrogance and mystery, could also be a way to prompt consultations among the 4 families or to increase security at Red Leaf Valley Market, followed by their revenge. Chapter 697. I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. Xianxia voiced her analysis. Not impossible. Upon hearing Xiaoxia's words, Ling Zixiao nodded slightly. Lu Changsheng, listening to the conversation between the 2 women, pondered for a moment before looking at Ling Zixiao. "Zixiao, how is your injury now?" "My lord, rest assured, my body has already recovered quite a bit. Should I encounter a situation like with Xiaohong money in the past, I am now well able to cope. Moreover, with Daoist Xiao at home, along with the golden armor being mother, 2nd-rank puppets, my lord can rest assured to head to Qingzhou Mountain and Red Leaf Valley Market." Ling Zixiao, hearing Lu Changsheng's words, showed a slight smile and said so. Her complexion was still pale, but not as devoid of blood as before. With the treatment from a 9 treasures Rui bone, her meridians and Danshan's recovery was limited, but the overall situation had improved markedly. "Changsheng, if you're going to Qingzhou Mountain and Red Leaf Valley, you still need to be careful. If it really comes down to it, I can ask for assistance from the Qingyun sect to station someone at Qingzhou Mountain." Xiaoxia said. She knew that Lu Changsheng was quite exceptional. Having just broken through to Foundation establishment, he had been able to slay Meng Yibai, who was at the middle stage of Foundation establishment. But the true extent of Lu Changsheng's power remained unclear to her. With the current situation of the enemy hidden and us exposed, she did not want Lu Changsheng to take any risks. "Shiyu, rest assured." Lu Changsheng smiled slightly, holding Xiaoxia's hand, and then turned to Ling Zixiao. "It's not about that. Zixiao, do you remember I mentioned before about wanting you to set up a formation at the summit of Baiyin Peak? He had always wanted to plant the Mount Sumeru Tree King. However, considering Ling Zixiao's physical condition, he had not raised this request. Now, encountering such an incident, if Ling Zixiao's body had mostly recovered, he planned to plant the Mount Sumeru Tree King. This way, he wouldn't need to worry about home theft when he was away. Although at home, with Xiaoxia, Ling Zixiao, the golden armor being mother, 3rd-rank talismans, and 2nd-rank puppets, they were unlikely to encounter any danger. But Ling Zixiao had only just started to recover, and he did not wish for her condition to worsen due to any situation. And Xiaoxia would also be leaving next year. "Of course I remember. My situation now is such that, As long as it is not the setting up of a large-scale formation, there shouldn't be any significant problem. My lord, what sort of formation do you want? Upon hearing these words, a stream of warmth flowed through Ling Xixiao's heart, and she answered with a gentle smile. This formation mainly needs to be able to conceal the situation at the mountain summit and the aura of a third-rank demon. Lu Changxing spoke. Third-rank demon aura. Both Ling Zixiao and Xianxia were startled upon hearing this. Third-rank demon aura implied the presence of a third-rank demon king. Such level of demon beasts were revered as clan-guarding spiritual beasts wherever they were. By saying this, did Lu Changsheng possess a third-rank spiritual beast? The two women looked at Lu Changsheng with shocked and incredulous expressions. Seeing the astonishment and uncertainty in the eyes of the two women, Lu Changxing chuckled. That's right, I happened to fortuitously contract a third-rank tree king by chance. Right now, this honored tree king resides within a certain extraordinary treasure, and once it is released, it will no longer be movable. Hence, I thought, Zixiao, now that you can set up a formation to conceal its aura, we could settle it at the summit of Baiyun Peak. That way, I wouldn't have to worry about any danger befalling the house. Lu Changsheng said with a smile. A third-rank demon king. Both Ling Zixiao and Xianxia found it hard to believe and were momentarily a loss for words upon hearing this. Even though they were aware of the great fortunes and secrets Lu Changxing possessed, that he was quite extraordinary, binding a third-rank demon king as a spiritual beast during the Foundation establishment phase was simply too astonishing. You must know, that was a sovereign demon king. To make such a majestic being submit and become a contracted spiritual beast was nearly as difficult as ascending to divinity, especially when there was such a discrepancy in strength, with Lu Changsheng only at Foundation establishment. With Lu Changsheng having such a third-rank spiritual beast to protect his family, he could quite confidently claim to be a cultivation clan. However, upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words, the two women also understood the problem. The Tree King, unlike plant demon beasts, such as tree and vegetation spirits, which differ from furry, feathered, scaled, or insectoid demon beasts, if they haven't achieved transformation, they cannot move about freely. Therefore, contracting such a plant-based spiritual beast would be somewhat less deterrent in its external influence. Indeed, it might even invite trouble due to this factor. My lord, how strong is this third-rank demon king's power and aura? Ling Zixiao came back to her senses and asked Lu Changsheng. This is something I can't quite describe, but it is among the stronger ones within the third rank. Lu Changsheng pondered slightly. Although he did not know the exact strength of the Mount Sumeru Tree King, the words low-grade true spirit already said everything. When a demon beast with a heavenly grade bloodline grows to the third rank, it is equivalent to a cultivator who has condensed a superior gold core. As such, being a true spirit level, the Mount Sumeru Tree King should be undefeatable among its rank, shouldn't it? If it's just about simply concealing the Tree King's true form and aura, I can modify the inverted 5-element formation to accomplish that. But once the Tree King takes action, its aura will be no longer concealable, Ling Zixiao said after a moment of consideration. That will be enough. This kind of thing is just a precaution after all, Lu Changxing said with a smile. Though the exposure of the Mount Sumeru Tree King would likely cause him troubles, if it came down to such a dangerous situation, there would be no other choice. After all, revealing the Tree King was still better than being robbed at home. Moreover, by then, with the Mount Sumeru Tree King at hand and his own power through the 9-treasure jade Rui comparable to core formation, he reckoned that unless there was an attack from a nascent Soul True Lord or the immortal sex, there wouldn't be too great a danger. And besides, I think I might even be able to summon a nascent Soul Immortal. Chapter 698. I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. Lu Changsheng thought about the promise from a nascent soul, immortal, he still held. Although 20 years had passed, he didn't know if this nascent soul immortal would still honor their previously made agreement. Besides these, he also had his connection to Xianxia. The master of the other party also seemed quite decent, previously willing to help when he encountered trouble in Qingyan's sect. Should it come to that, he might be able to rely on this connection to seek refuge with Qingyan's sect. As Lu Changsheng calculated in such a manner, he suddenly felt that if he were to let loose completely, his strength would be sufficient to carve out a territory in the Qingyan region. However, such matters were only a thought to him. Unless absolutely necessary, he couldn't possibly reveal everything. After all, wasn't it better for him to develop peacefully and steadily? All right, since it is so, I will set up a small-scale inverted 5-elements formation here. I will weaken and simplify the defensive, prohibitive, and enemy-confining effects of the formation, and enhance all of its concealing, illusory, and confusing effects. This way, we could shield the situation of the third-rank Tree King. Ling Zixiao said this. After speaking, she looked at Lu Changsheng and said, "However, my lord, you still need to consider one thing. If this Tree King starts to inhale and exhale spiritual energy, I'm afraid it will consume the entire spirit vein of Baiyun Peak." "I've already thought about this problem. You can rest assured." Zixiao, Lu Changsheng replied with a smile. "Then I am relieved, but I will need my lord to prepare some materials for the formation," Ling Zixiao said with a faint smile. "All right, no problem." Lu Changsheng nodded, immediately asking Ling Zixiao what materials were needed and how long it would take to set up the formation. "Our family still has 2 array masters, so it won't take long to cover the peak of Baiyun Peak. It can be done in about 10 days, Ling Zixiao stated. "All right, no problem." Lu Changxing nodded, checked what materials were missing, then concealed his form and went out. He prepared to make a trip to Qingzhou Mountain and the Red Leaf Valley Market to purchase all the materials. Meanwhile, Nine Dragons Market, in a small courtyard. The message has already been sent to the 4 major families. Let them fall into chaos for a while, and when the time is right, we'll go rob the Red Leaf Valley Market. Once the 4 families' Foundation establishment members come to support, we'll be able to kill them all in one fell swoop and avenge you brothers' parents. Tao Xiaolan, wearing a peach-colored dress, said she wanted her partner to achieve clarity of thought and be freed from hatred, even considering replicating actions from the past. "It's a pity that the Yu family has been destroyed. I still wanted to flay and dismember that person, to offer my parents' spirits in heaven," Fang Yu said bitterly. Among the 4 major families, he hated the Yu family the most, because it was the patriarch of the Yu family who interfered with his parents. Otherwise, they still had a chance to escape. Although he hated the nameless sword cultivator who killed his parents, this hatred had nowhere to vent. He planned to investigate the information and seek revenge once he advanced further in strength. "I've inquired a bit about the 4 families, and we need to be a bit wary of Lu Changsheng from the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. This man once used a talisman formation to kill 3 of the Yu family's Foundation establishment cultivators. Although they were only 1 middle stage and 2 early stage cultivators, he's not someone to be underestimated," a middle-aged man with a fair complexion and a soft, feminine brow said. Although they did not view the Red Leaf Valley Market or the 4 major families seriously, as robber cultivators who had traveled far and wide, they still maintained a level of caution. Upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley Market, they also discreetly learned about the situation of the 4 major families. "Talisman formation? This thing is indeed out of the ordinary. Once in Yu country, I encountered a kid from the Beast Talisman sect. He sacrificed a pile of talismans, forming a talisman formation, and nearly caused me, the Buddha, to capsize in the gutter and fall into his hands." A burly, bald man with a scarred head said this. "Oh, second brother actually encountered such a matter? What was the kid's cultivation level that he nearly tripped you up?" Upon hearing this, Fang Yu asked. He knew well his second brother's prowess, who had just broken through to the late stage of Foundation establishment, but long possessed a corporeal body of the late stage of Foundation establishment. That kid was at the early stage of Foundation establishment, but he sacrificed 100 talismans in an instant, forming a strange beast. If it wasn't for Buddha's Vajra, overlord body, and talisman treasure for protection, I really wouldn't have been able to break his talisman formation. The bald man touched the scar on his head, recalling with unease. Talisman formation technique is indeed powerful, but this method has a fatal flaw. At this moment, the red-robed man, sitting upright and dominating at the head of the table, said he propped up his thick and muscular legs on the table, continuing, "All the might of this talisman formation lies in the talismans. Ordinary cultivators don't snatch them. Talismans rely on being purchased with money or drawing them themselves. So how many talismans can they have? So indeed, such techniques can only serve as a trump card, a life-saving means." That kid used the talisman formation to kill 3 Foundation establishment members back then, which means this is his ace in the hole. Only a few years have passed. How many talismans could he possibly have left on him? So when the time comes, just pay a little more attention to this youngster. However, for someone of his inheritance to have such ability is also good news for us. This kind of talisman formation inheritance is worth a lot of money. The red-robed man, large and imposing as a mountain, took out a wine jug, took a swig, and spoke loudly. "Heh, talisman formation inheritance. I've got to study that well when the time comes," the bald man said, smiling at the thought. "Not only that, I've inquired slightly, and this fellow's fortunes are quite extraordinary." The fair-skinned, middle-aged man showed a sly smile and continued. "Kaka, it seems we found ourselves a fat sheep, thanks to our 5th brother." Chapter 699. I contracted a rank 3 spiritual beast before. _4. Not to mention anything else, the opportunities this lad has had alone make our trip worthwhile. A thin, sallow-faced elder in a black robe cackled with laughter. As the others chatted and conversed, a burst of cheerful laughter filled the hall. "Qingzhou Mountain, Qingzhou Hall. Changsheng, how about I go to the Red Leaf Valley Market to watch over things, and let Miaoga stay at home to hold the fort?" Lu Yuanzhong suggested to Lu Changsheng. "Uncle, there's no need for that. With this 2nd-rank communication talisman and these 3, if anything comes up, contact me immediately, and I will rush over as fast as I can." Though Lu Changsheng thought the proposal was good, after consideration, he still declined. After all, he had a rough idea of Lu Yuanzhong's combat abilities. Let alone being affected by injuries, even in his prime, his strength was quite average. Lu Miaoga might only be at the 1st layer of Foundation establishment, but with her practice of the water of virtue technique and her perfect foundation base, her mana is powerful. And with the 2nd-rank talismans, 3rd-rank talismans, and talisman treasures he had given her, her strength was sufficient to deal with anyone at the middle stage of Foundation establishment. She could even slay those at the late stage of Foundation establishment if they were weak enough. Plus, if she couldn't win, she could still escape with the help of the talismans. "All right, Changsheng, you also need to be extra careful." Lu Yuanzhong nodded upon hearing this, and said no more. Having seen how Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoga treated him earlier, he knew their mana was far stronger than his. If it weren't for the fear of losing face, he would even consider sparring with Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoga to gauge the gap between them. "Rest assured, Uncle," Lu Changsheng nodded. He then went to pay respects to his father-in-law, Lu Yuanding, and the 4th elder. Years had passed, and Lu Yuanding had aged considerably, with much more white hair. Looking at his father-in-law, Lu Changsheng felt quite nostalgic. He vividly remembered how the man had taken him back to the Lu family at the foot of the Qinyan sect. After paying his respects, Lu Changsheng prepared to leave. At that moment, a woman was supporting an old, stooped man nearby. The two were talking about something. The old man looked at Lu Changsheng and immediately called out, "Greetings to Lu Mountain Lord." "Uncle Gay." Upon seeing the elder, Lu Changsheng stopped, nodded with a smile, and greeted him. This old man was the Qingzhou Villa's 100 Treasures Pavilion shopkeeper who had taken good care of him in the past. "Greetings to Lu Mountain Lord." The woman beside him looked at Lu Changsheng with a complex expression and respectfully greeted him. "Little Moon," Long time no see, Lu Changxing nodded slightly, recognizing her as Uncle Gui's granddaughter. After a brief exchange with the two, he took out a bottle of elixir medicine from his storage bag that could nourish the flesh and gifted it to Uncle Gui. Although the man possessed the cultivation level of qi refinement, 5th layer, his years of hard work had taken a toll on his health. If he could nourish himself with the elixir medicine, he would be able to live a few years longer. Please accept it, Uncle Gui. You took good care of me in the past. It'll trouble you to pass these 2 bottles of elixir medicine to Uncle Fu and Lu Bo on my behalf, Lu Changsheng said, taking out 2 more bottles for the other 2 stewards. Thank you, Lu Mountain Lord. Both expressed their gratitude, and watching Lu Changsheng walk away, they were filled with emotion. They had never thought that the once son-in-law, who had become a formidable ancestor and master of a mountain, would still remember the kindness they showed him and display such warmth. Upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley Market, Lu Changxing met with Lu Miaoge and spoke about the matter of the robber cultivators. Lu Miaoge had already received the news and said she would increase patrols and be more vigilant in the Red Leaf Valley Market during this time. Afterwards, Lu Changsheng also asked Lu Miaoge to help see if they could gather all the materials needed for the family's array in the Red Leaf Valley Market, so he wouldn't have to make another trip to any other marketplaces. Chapter 700, Su Ruyan. Is this a heaven-ranked demon beast? One night. Enveloped by the hazy moonlight and the powerful formation, the entire Red Leaf Valley Market appeared as if draped in a thin, light veil, lending it a mysterious and solemn air. At this late hour, silence reigned, save for the rustling of the red maple trees and the faint sounds of patrolling guards. In a simple yet elegant cave dwelling, Lu Changsheng caressed Lu Miaoge's flawless jade body, which was flushed pink from warmth and covered in fine beads of sweat, completing the last step of the tender embrace technique. He merged the dual cultivation's yin essence with his own yang essence, thereby transforming 1 into 2, 2 into 3, and returning it all back. Lu Miaoge's beautiful face, fair as snow, blushed like the dawn, as radiant and vibrant as peach blossoms, while her delicate body trembled gently as if it were mud softened by water. Lu Changsheng embraced his beloved wife, his palm gently caressing her soft and smooth skin, akin to mutton fat jade. After breaking through foundation establishment while practicing the water of virtue technique, not only Lu Miaoge's temperament, but also her physique became even more perfect and flawless. After a moment, Lu Changsheng tenderly inquired, Sister Miaoge, how long until you break through to the 2nd level of foundation establishment? I currently have 126 drops of liquefied mana, and I estimate it will take another 2 to 3 years to break through to the 2nd level. Lu Miaoge's beautiful eyes shimmered like water, and her rosy cheeks seemed to burn with fire, making her graceful and gentle face indescribably radiant. 2 to 3 years. Lu Changsheng nodded slightly upon hearing her words. He knew that Lu Miaoge's progress was delayed by everyday trifles, as well as by treating Lu Yuanzhong and Ling Zixiao. Otherwise, with the aid of the elixir medicines he had provided, her cultivation would not be so slow. With his hands feeling the supple smoothness, he inhaled the orchid musk fragrance of his wife and posed another question. Sister Miaoge, currently in Qingzhou Mountain, who do you think is suitable for attempting foundation establishment? There is just one ingredient missing for the concoction of the foundation establishment elixir. If he was not able to acquire it this year, Lu Changxing planned to have Xianxia exchange for one from the Qingyan sect. Therefore, by next year at the latest, he should be able to gather the necessary ingredients and refine the foundation establishment elixir. He had long decided on how to distribute the foundation building elixir. With his alchemy skills, he could stably produce 3 pills. Out of the 3 foundation establishment elixirs, one would go to Qingzhou Mountain and another to Bailing. As for the remaining one, he would decide based on the situation at the time. Attempting foundation establishment. Upon hearing this, Lu Miage's face showed a hint of contemplation as she said, "Currently, only Miao Feng and Mu Ping in our family are capable of attempting foundation establishment. If I were to choose, Miao Feng is definitely more suitable than Mu Ping. Not only has he had one attempt at foundation establishment, but he has also gone through more tempering and has a more steadfast Dao heart." "Changsheng, what's the matter?" Lu Miaoge looked at Lu Changsheng, asking him. "I previously obtained a special second-rank monster core, and I have been collecting ingredients for the foundation establishment elixir over the past few years. Now, I have almost all the ingredients I need. If all goes well, I should be able to gather them all next year and refine the foundation establishment elixir. Thus, I am thinking of giving one foundation establishment elixir to Qingzhou Mountain, so someone from the family can break through to foundation establishment, and you, Sister Miaoge, won't have to strain yourself so much. You can then cultivate in peace by Lake Mountain," Lu Changsheng said, while shaping a snow figure with his hands. "Foundation establishment elixir." Upon hearing this, Lu Miage's face showed surprise, her heart throbbing. She had already been deeply moved by Lu Changsheng preparing a foundation establishment elixir for her. She had not expected that Lu Changsheng could obtain another foundation establishment elixir, and had even planned to give one to Qingzhou Mountain for her sake. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. After all, she wasn't the kind of family's Missy who had never experienced hardship. She knew all too well how difficult it was to acquire a foundation establishment elixir. Moreover, Bai Lake Mountain was currently running at a loss, relying solely on Lu Changsheng, the head of the household. In such a situation, Lu Changsheng was still thinking about her and Qingzhou Mountain. "Changsheng, if it is convenient, I will speak to my uncle later so that the family can prepare spirit stones or write an IO." Lu Miaoge lightly bit her lip, her eyes brimming like liquid. Although she had an inextricable emotional attachment to Qingzhou Mountain and wished for it to improve continuously, as Lu Changsheng's wife, she felt she already owed him enough and didn't want her husband to keep giving so much. If Lu Changsheng obtained a foundation establishment elixir and privately sold it to Qingzhou Mountain, in her eyes, it was already a great gesture. After all, it was very difficult for ordinary Lu's cultivators and families to acquire a foundation establishment elixir. Outside of chance and luck, or the Purple Shadow secret realm, they could only hope to buy it at auctions in the 3 great immortal cities. The foundation establishment elixir is not yet refined, so you don't need to speak explicitly about this matter. But you can hint at it, so the family can make preparations and try to purchase ingredients suitable for their foundation establishment. Lu Changsheng said with a smile, inhaling the fragrance of his wife's hair. Money wasn't his main concern. After all, he had received a lot of support from the Lu family, and he had connections with Lu Miaoge, Lu Miaohuan, Lu Miaoyan, Lu Lanshu, and so forth. What he truly cared about was whether the foundation establishment would be successful after giving away the elixir. Although Miao Feng and Mu Ping both had middle-grade spiritual roots, with a foundation establishment elixir, their chances of successful foundation establishment were around 40 to 50%. But frankly, this rate wasn't considered very high. He didn't want to give away the elixir only to have Qingzhou Mountain fail at foundation establishment. "All right, I will speak to my uncle about this later and have Miao Feng and Mu Ping make the necessary preparations too." Lu Miaoge replied softly, her eyes full of tender affection. "Once we have a new foundation establishment in the family, Sister Miaoge, you can also settle down and cultivate properly. After a few more years, when the situation is stable, we, along with Huan Huan, will visit Qingshan and Little Zhu at the Jinyang sect." Lu Changsheng held his wife and spoke. Okay, upon hearing these words, Lu Miage's face lit up with smiles, looking stunningly beautiful. Chapter 701 Su Ruyan. Is this a heaven-ranked demon beast? Once, her goals were foundation establishment and family. Now that she had achieved foundation establishment, her thoughts gradually focused on her family. All she hoped for was a happy family and for By Lake Mountain and Qingzhou Mountain to both prosper more and more. By Lake Mountain. To have Miss Su from the Su family stay at my By Lake Mountain for a few days. At the mountain gate, Lu Miaoyan looked at the patriarch Zheng and Su Ruyan before her delicate eyebrows slightly furrowed. Patriarch Zheng, Miss Su, please wait a moment, she said. She passed a message on to Ling Zixiao. If it had been an ordinary visit, she would have dared to make a decision. But with the recent incident involving the Copper Bell Road cultivator, she was unsure of what to do at the moment. To stay at our place for a few days? Ling Zixiao, upon hearing this, came to the mountain gate and appraised Su Ruyan. She had soft, shining, fiery red hair, a delicate and aloof face, a curvaceous figure, wearing a splendid dress interwoven with gold and red threads. Her looks, figure, and temperament were all top-notch. My husband has been at home for all these years. It's normal for him to attract a young lady on his rare outings, Ling Zixiao remarked to herself as she observed Su Ruyan. Otherwise, why would a young woman come to their home seeking refuge from disaster? And even if she did come to seek refuge, it wouldn't be by herself, would it? Miaoyan, please arrange for Miss Su to stay at By Lake Villa, Ling Zixiao said with a slight smile. Setting aside whether there was any relationship between Lu Changsheng and Su Ruyan, given the relationship between the Lu and Zheng families, and considering the face of the Yushui Su family, it would be difficult to refuse such a request from the other party. Very well, Miss Su, please follow me, Lu Miaoyan said immediately after hearing this, leading Su Ruyan to By Lake Villa. Afterward, Ling Zixiao invited Patriarch Zheng into the mountain for tea, inquiring why he had only sent Miss Su over. It was Miss Su herself who insisted. Patriarch Zheng explained with a wry smile. He mentioned that his family originally planned to settle Su Ruyan and several young family members in the Nine Dragons Market. But Su Ruyan expressed that By Lake Mountain was closer to Wugong Ridge, and she wished to stay there temporarily until her ancestors arrived. I truly apologize for bothering Senior Ling, Patriarch Zheng said as he cupped his hands. Had it not been for Su Ruyan's insistent request, he too would not have wanted to trouble By Lake Mountain. After all, sending people to the Nine Dragons Market would also ensure their safety, and sending them to By Lake Mountain instead would mean owing a favor. You are too courteous, Patriarch Zheng, Ling Zixiao replied on hearing this. Almost convinced of her earlier guess, Ling Zixiao felt this young lady must have feelings for Lu Changsheng, or else she wouldn't have taken such an initiative. After a brief conversation, Patriarch Zheng did not stay for further discussion and took his leave. By Lake Villa, Lu Miaoyan settled Su Ruyan in a tranquil attic. She told her she'd be staying there and could seek her out for anything she needed. Thank you for your troubles, Mrs. Lu. Su Ruyan expressed her gratitude to Lu Miaoyan. So this is By Lake Mountain. I wonder if Lu Changsheng's heaven-ranked demon beast is on this By Lake Mountain. Su Ruyan looked out the window at the scenery, musing secretly to herself. Since being at Zheng family's place, she had sensed the aura of a heaven-ranked demon beast from Lu Changsheng. Therefore, she had been trying to find a way to get close to Lu Changsheng. She wanted to see the state of Lu Changsheng's heaven-ranked demon beast and whether there was a chance for her to obtain it. After all, her cultivation level was already at the 9th level of energy refinement, and it wouldn't take much longer before she could make a break for Foundation establishment. However, she didn't want to achieve it just like that. Her desire was to contract a heaven-ranked demon beast first, and then form a beastly Tao foundation. Only by doing so could she respond in kind at the family competition, exchanging tooth for tooth, blood for blood, returning all the hatred her father faced to those responsible. The recent event with the rogue cultivator delivering the clock made her realize it was an opportunity. So, she used it as a pretext to ask the Zheng family to send her to By Lake Mountain to see if she could detect the presence of a heaven-ranked demon beast. Senior Hong Lian, with you concealing my form and aura, is it possible to deceive the great formation of By Lake Mountain? Su Ruyan inquired in her mind. This great formation of By Lake Mountain is only of the 2nd rank, and as long as it is not fully operational, it should not be a big problem, A serene, clear, and gentle voice replied in Su Rian's mind. Just then, the serene and clear voice paused. Su Rian felt something at that moment, turning her gaze toward the sky outside the window. La la la, there she saw a young woman in a moon-white dress, flying towards Baishui Lake with a little girl of 6 or 7 years old in a pink silk dress. Su Rian stared intently at the little girl's seat, a plump, ice-blue turtle emitting a faint chill, looking utterly adorable. Is this a heaven-ranked demon beast? Su Rian was a bit bewildered. She had been intending to use Senior Hong Lian's power to conceal herself and investigate by Lake Mountain. But unexpectedly, the heaven-ranked demon beast she had so longed for and thought about endlessly, she yearned for so greatly, appeared right before her eyes. If not for the reaction of the beast technique, she would hardly believe that the turtle the little girl was riding was a heaven-rank bloodline demon beast. Senior Hong Lian, Su Rian reached out with her mind. Indeed, this is a heaven-rank bloodline demon beast. The serene and clear voice spoke once again. Not only was Su Rian taken aback, but so was the voice in her head. Both were astonished beyond belief. It was hard to imagine that a heaven-ranked demon beast would be ridden and played with by a little girl. Red Leaf Valley Market. Since the inverted 5 elements formation that Ling Zixiao had set up was only a small formation, the required materials were not numerous. Ling Zixiao had also taken into consideration the rarity of materials and listed all possible substitutes. Therefore, it took Lu Changsheng just 2 days to gather all the materials needed for the formation in the Red Leaf Valley Market. In those 2 days, Lu Changsheng also received feedback from the other 3 families regarding their stance on the rogue cultivator incident, which was to be vigilant, contact each other immediately if anything happened, and provide mutual assistance. Chapter 702. Su Rian. Is this a heaven-ranked demon beast? After all, the 4 families couldn't possibly close off their mountains because of a single threat and abandoned Red Leaf Valley Market. Following that, the 4 families jointly reported the matter to Qinyan sect. Though the sect would at most conduct a cursory investigation into such matters, they still needed to file a report. Sister Miaoga, if bandit cultivators really attack, send me a message right away. If there's danger, use the talisman I gave you. Your safety comes first. Once I've settled some matters at home, I will come over, Lu Changsheng instructed Lu Miaoga. Okay, Changsheng, rest assured. Lu Miaoga's beautiful eyes were gentle as water as she smiled warmly. Most of the time, it was she who told Lu Changsheng to be careful and watch out. Now, to be cautioned by Lu Changsheng like a little child, she found it slightly amusing, and a warm current surged in her heart. Lu Changsheng hugged his wife, then concealing his true face, left Red Leaf Valley Market and returned to by Lake Mountain. On the way, he was highly vigilant to guard against the bandit cultivator who could be lying in wait for him. However, the journey was very smooth, and nothing unexpected occurred. Once home, Lu Changsheng handed over the array materials to Ling Zixiao. My lord. At this time, Ling Zixiao conveyed a matter to Lu Changsheng. Su Rian. At the mention of this name, Lu Changsheng's brows furrowed. Correct. The Zheng family currently has no foundation establishment cultivators in residence and is afraid that bandit cultivators might visit after receiving the copper bell. Thus, the day after you, my lord, had departed, Patriarch Zheng sent this Miss Su to our by Lake Mountain, hoping that this Miss Su could stay at our place for a while and wait for someone from the Yushui Su family to come. Ling Zixiao said so, her posture full and graceful, speaking with dignified elegance. Where is she now? Lu Changsheng inquired. She has been arranged to stay at by Lake Villa. Ling Zixiao replied as such. She noticed that Lu Changsheng's expression was not quite right and asked, My lord, is there a problem with this girl? It's not so much a problem, but when I previously visited the Zheng family for the funeral, I saw this girl. Lu Changsheng made no secret of it before Ling Zixiao. He indicated that while he was at the Zheng family, she kept stealing glances at him, which was not normal. With a young and promising husband like yours, not only are you a foundation establishment cultivator and a master of the talisman path, but you are also a mountain lord. And on top of that, you're so handsome. It's perfectly normal for a young girl to sneak peeks and fall in love, Ling Zixiao said, her tone half jesting. Are you making fun of your husband? Lu Changsheng naturally detected the playful tone in her voice and wrapped his arms around her full waist. Ling Zixiao let out a soft cry and then spoke earnestly. Initially, I talked with Patriarch Zhang for a moment. His intention was to send the girl to Nine Dragons Market to stay temporarily, waiting for someone from the Yushui, Su family to come. But the girl, on her own accord, suggested coming to buy Lake Mountain. At that time, I thought this young girl had taken a liking to you, my lord. Now it seems she must have another motive. Ling Zixiao spoke, her elegant features revealing a hint of playfulness. But besides talismans, I haven't revealed my alchemy skills. What can she be after? Lu Changsheng stroked his chin as he said this. I do not know that. Ling Zixiao gently shook her head. She initially thought Lu Changsheng had some connection with Su Rian, seeing as in her eyes, Lu Changsheng was an ideal partner in all respects except one could not easily judge matters of the opposite sex. All right, you can proceed with the array formation. I must ask Yunner to keep an eye on this Miss Su from the Su family. Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed as he spoke. If before he was just being cautious around Su Ruyan, now he felt there was definitely something amiss about her. All right. Ling Zixiao nodded her head, not wanting to delay. She summoned the 2 array masters in the family to start setting up a formation on the summit of Baiyun Peak. Yunner, Yongwan, these next few days you could go and see Miss Su, chat with her from time to time. Lu Changsheng arrived at the Lu family mansion and said to Lu Miaoyun and Zheng Yongwan. Both women, one is the lady of the Lu family and the other connected to the Zheng family. Visiting Su Rian was normal to see if they could catch any hint of intent. Yes, husband. Upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words, both women nodded. Upon his request, they subconsciously assumed their husband must have an unusual relationship with this Miss Su from the Su family, especially Zheng Yongwan. Although she lacked Lu Changsheng's divine sense, her female intuition made her take note of the Su family misglancing at her husband from time to time while they were at the Zheng family. She couldn't help but speculate in her heart, wondering if this Miss Su would become one of the sisters in the household. She had inquired about this Miss Su before. She was the pearl of the Yushui Su family, and it was unlikely she would marry easily. However, considering how proactive this Miss Su was, such an eventuality didn't seem impossible. Chapter 703. The Tree King appears within the cave heaven. _1 Blue Lake Mountain. Inside the manor's grand hall, Rian has been troubling Lu Mountain Lord these past few days. Su Ringguang said politely to Lu Changsheng. He had just arrived at Wugong Ridge when he heard from the Zheng family that his beloved granddaughter had gone to stay temporarily at Blue Lake Mountain. Upon hearing this news, he was terrified and rushed to Blue Lake Mountain without stopping to take his precious granddaughter back. After all, he had heard of the great reputation of Lu Changsheng. Not only was he a son-in-law from Qingzhou Mountain, who became a foundation establishment great cultivator, a master of the talisman path, and single-handedly killed 3 foundation establishment cultivators, but he also established the Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. Another thing that was widely talked about was his zeal for marrying and having children. In just over 20 years, he had amassed over 50 wives and concubines and more than 150 children, essentially creating a clan all by himself. So hearing that his granddaughter had run off to Blue Lake Mountain, he was terrified that Lu Changsheng might lay his hands on her. If anything were to happen between the two of them, he couldn't even bear to imagine it. Su Daoyu is too kind, Lu Changsheng said with a chuckle. Grandpa. At this moment, Lu Miaoyun and Su Rian arrived in the hall. Su Ringguang looked at his granddaughter with displeasure, then stood up and said with cupped hands, Lu Mountain Lord, I have other matters to attend to and must not stay for long. I will take my leave now. If Lu Mountain Lord is ever free in the future, You are welcome to visit the Su family anytime. After speaking and leaving a gift behind, he took his granddaughter Su Ruyan and bid farewell, leaving Blue Lake Mountain. Su Dao, you take care. Lu Changsheng saw the two out of the mountain gate. But seeing the other party's face filled with relief and haste in taking his granddaughter away, he felt a hint of inexplicable insult. My family kindly took in your granddaughter with ulterior motives, and yet you behave like this, distrustful of my character, aren't you? Yuner, have you or Xiaowan noticed anything amiss about Miss Su in the past few days? At this time, Lu Changsheng turned to Lu Miaoyun, who was standing beside him, and asked, Nothing out of the ordinary. Miss Su only went out to the lake once in these 5 days. The rest of the time, she was cultivating alone in her room. Lu Miaoyun shook her head slightly and spoke. Husband, what's wrong? Nothing. I just feel that Miss Su is a bit of a problem. Lu Changsheng said casually. A problem? Lu Miaoyun's face showed a thoughtful expression. But after thinking for a long time, she couldn't recall anything about Miss Su that seemed problematic. If she really had to say there was a problem, it would be her lack of interest in her own husband. After all, according to Xiaowan, Miss Su from the Su family might have developed feelings for her own husband. But now that she's come to Blue Lake Mountain, she hasn't shown too much of it these past days. 6 days later, at the summit of Baiyun Peak, inverted 5 elements formation, activate. Ling Zixiao placed the flags and array plate properly, then went to the formation's eye and inserted one spell after another into the array plate. Wang dash the next moment, flags around the peak flapped in the wind, beams of light appeared, and the spiritual mechanism surged, forming a 5-colored glass pillar. My lord, the formation is ready. You can give it a try, Ling Zixiao said to Lu Changsheng. Okay. Lu Changsheng turned into a streak of light and flew out of the peak. As the 5-colored glass pillar on the peak twisted, it gradually vanished, turning into a hazy white mist. The white mist swirled, and the peak reappeared, but everything on the mountain was gone. The trees, Ling Zixiao, Xianxia, Changsheng Hall, all invisible. Lu Changsheng channeled mana into his eyes, hoping to see through the formation and make out the situation inside. However, layers of fog-like obstruction shielded his view. He could somewhat discern that the scene before him was an illusion, but could not see clearly inside. When he used his divine sense to probe, he felt an invisible barrier preventing the divine sense from penetrating. Subsequently, Lu Changsheng descended back onto the peak. The scene before him on the peak, the trees and all, felt as real as the actual landscape. The sensation was genuine. Lu Changsheng tried to locate the aura of Ling Zixiao and Xianxia, but couldn't sense them at all. So this is the power of a formation. It seems I will have to learn some formation techniques in the future, Lu Changsheng mused. Otherwise, if I were to enter some formation, I might end up trapped and die within it. Although he said this, he currently had 2 methods of breaking through formations. One was to use an unsealing talisman to break the formation. Another was the 8th divine skill of his 9 treasures Rui Bone, the unsealing divine light, which could break all sorts of formation restrictions. Lu Changsheng strolled around the peak for a couple of rounds, but no matter what, was unable to enter the real Baiyun Peak summit. He nodded in satisfaction and said, This will do, Zixiao. As his words fell, the scenery before him began to shift, and Lu Changsheng saw he was standing exactly in the center of the peak summit. And Ling Zixiao and Xianxia were close by. How is it, my lord? Ling Zixiao, holding the array plate with a light smile, asked. Good. The inverted 5 elements formation's illusionary and confusing effects have no issues, though we still need to check on the aspect of the magic aura, Lu Changsheng said with a smile. Then he turned to Xianxia and said, Xiu, it'll release my mana aura in a moment. Can you tell if you can sense it? Okay. Xianxia nodded lightly in response. Then, Dao Yu Xiao, I will start the formation for you, Ling Zixiao said to Xianxia. And then she activated the array plate with her mana. Lu Changsheng could clearly see the top of the peak's formation mechanism surging, a stream of five-colored glass light flowing, enveloping Xianxia. Changsheng, it's ready, Xianxia said. She was in a moon-white dress, her face calm and tranquil, looking towards Lu Changsheng, her beautiful eyes as serene and clear as the moon in the sky. Okay. Upon hearing her, Lu Changsheng's mana surged from his dantian. His middle stage foundation establishment mana, augmented by the profound origin bead, surged like a raging river, surrounding him with an aura of late-stage foundation establishment pressure. Chapter 704. The Tree King emerges inside the cave heaven. This, Ling Zixiao stared at the scene in a daze, her beautiful eyes revealing surprise and doubt. She knew that Lu Changsheng was breaking through to the middle stage of foundation establishment on his way back from Jiuxiao, Immortal City. But at the moment, spiritual pressure surged around Lu Changsheng's body, far surpassing the middle stage of foundation establishment and reaching the late stage. Shiyu, can you sense my magic aura? Lu Changsheng asked Xianxia. My lord, Xiao Dao's friend can't hear your voice right now. Ling Zixiao spoke out, then made a hand spell and conveyed the message to Xianxia. Changsheng, I can't sense your magical spiritual pressure, but somehow I can feel where you are, Xianxia said. Somehow, you can feel where I am? Lu Changsheng raised his eyebrows upon hearing this. He thought to himself that there was such a method. My lord, do you have any means of communication with Xiao Dao's friend? The formation is primarily for hiding, illusion, and confusion. You and Xiao Dao's friend are both within the formation. If there's some treasure, you can still sense each other's presence. Ling Zixiao immediately said to Lu Changsheng. Means of communication, treasure? Lu Changsheng subconsciously took out the yin-yang sensing talisman. But in the next moment, he figured out what was happening. Dao Foundation. When he was condensing his Dao Foundation, he used Xiaoxia's supreme Yin Moonlight as the basis. Therefore, there was an inexplicable connection between them. That's also why the dual cultivation effects between him and Xiaoxia were far superior to others. Now, without the jade pendant to conceal his aura and running his magical spiritual pressure to its peak, and with them not being far from each other, Xiaoxia was able to sense him through the Dao Foundation. It's okay, it doesn't affect anything, Lu Changsheng said. Then with a slight move of his mental spirit, he activated the 9 treasures Rui bone. 9 treasures Rui. Boom! In an instant, the mana in Lu Changsheng's dantian surged like a breached river and an erupting volcano, his spiritual pressure climbing steadily. This spiritual pressure made Ling Zixiao, beside him, feel a certain pressure. Ling Zixiao looked at Lu Changsheng in front of her, her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief. It was astonishing enough that Lu Changsheng had revealed the spiritual pressure of the late stage of foundation establishment. But now, his spiritual pressure was still rising, almost surpassing the foundation establishment stage. The air around them felt dense and heavy, making it difficult to breathe. Having a contractual bond with a third-rank demon king, being in the middle stage of foundation establishment, revealing a spiritual pressure that nearly surpasses the peak of foundation establishment. At this moment, Ling Zixiao didn't even know what to say about Lu Changsheng. After many years of knowing him, she thought she had seen just the tip of the iceberg. But now, she found Lu Changsheng as enigmatic as ever, shrouded in mystery. Even if Lu Changsheng claimed to be the reincarnation of a great power or a true immortal, she would believe it. Zixiao. Lu Changsheng slightly reduced the spiritual pressure directed at Ling Zixiao and called out to her. He asked her to inquire with Xiaoxia if she could sense the magic aura. Upon Ling Zixiao's questioning, Xiaoxia indicated that she could not feel the magic aura. Good, that's fine, Lu Changsheng said with a loud laugh. He stopped the effect of the 9 treasures Rui bone, and his aura fell sharply, leaving him feeling empty. Changsheng, Xiaoxia's cold and moon-like beautiful eyes softened a few degrees when she saw Lu Changsheng. The next moment, she expressed her surprise. Changsheng, you've just broken through to the middle stage of Foundation Establishment. She and Lu Changsheng had broken through Foundation Establishment together. But she had only just reached the third level of Foundation Establishment not too long ago. Yet Lu Changsheng was already at the middle stage, which was very surprising to her. I had a bit of fortune before, Lu Changsheng said with a smile, downplaying it. Xiaoxia didn't say much. After all, compared to all the various mysteries surrounding Lu Changsheng, his middle stage cultivation level didn't seem so remarkable. Since there is no problem, Xiao, I'm going to release the Tree King. You two should move back a bit, Lu Changsheng said to Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia. Okay. The two women nodded and moved back to Changsheng Hall, full of anticipation and curiosity about what the Demon King contracted by Lu Changsheng would look like. Even though they were both well-seasoned and knowledgeable, they had never been up close with such a formidable Demon King. Extract. Lu Changsheng focused his mental spirit and looked at the Mount Sumeru Tree King in the system. The next moment, boom! A towering ancient tree, dozens of meters tall and remarkably robust, appeared. The ancient tree was entirely like gold and jade, with a brilliant luster flowing all over it. Its roots emanated strands of auspicious air, making it seem extremely sacred. The leaves of the tree crown were very peculiar. Some were dazzling gold, some transparent as jade, and some a rich green, diffusing a rich fragrance and divine light. With a gentle sway, it seemed like the chanting of Buddhist hymns arose, calming the heart and spirit of those who heard it. Upon the Mount Sumeru Tree King's appearance, auspicious air surged across the entire mountaintop like a vast ocean, almost filling the peak of Baiyun Peak and releasing strands of its vast aura. So this is the third-ranked Tree King contracted by my lord. Changsheng, Ling Zixiao, and Xiaoxia were both full of wonder and amazement as they looked at the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Even though they didn't know exactly what type of tree demon it was, they could tell just by the appearance that it was no ordinary third-rank spirit plant. If someone told them it was some rare and ancient spirit plant of heaven and earth, they would believe it, because the appearance of the Mount Sumeru Tree King was simply too extraordinary. Master, a pure and ethereal voice spoke. The voice was soft, beautiful, lofty, and ethereal, like a wistful celestial chant that could easily soothe the restlessness within one's heart and even prompt those full of sin to lay down their weapons in penance and sorrow. This call of Master made Lu Changsheng's spirit ripple gently. He hadn't expected the voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King to be so pleasant. If it took human form, he speculated that its appearance would likely be as attractive as its voice. Chapter 705. The Tree King emerges inside the cave heaven. He knew the Mount Sumeru Tree King was inquiring about whether he had made the decision to take root and settle down here. Given the current situation of the Mount Sumeru Tree King, it was able to move for short durations. Let's just do it here. The palace takes up too much space. You can take it directly into Mount Sumeru's space, but be careful not to damage the formation of the mountain. Lu Changsheng pondered for a moment before speaking to the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Having extracted the Mount Sumeru Tree King, he now had a detailed understanding of it. Third-rank early-stage cultivation level, with a self-contained cave heaven within, nurturing its own expanse of the world. This world could accommodate people, objects, demon beasts, or used for cultivation, and more. Moreover, the Mount Sumeru Tree King could proactively bring people or items into the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. This was one of the skills of the Mount Sumeru Tree King. If enemies were encountered, it could suppress and imprison them within the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. After speaking, he pulled Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia to the side. Yes, master. The ethereal and pure voice rang out, and then a golden divine light descended, shining upon the Changsheng Hall. Suddenly, the vast palace disappeared right before the three of them, leaving only an empty space. My lord, does this revered tree king possess void divine skills? Ling Zixiao asked Lu Changshen. Exactly. Its name is Mount Sumeru. It has a world within it, nurturing a corner of the universe. We will be able to live directly within this cave heaven from now on, Lu Changshen said aloud. Ling Zixiao and Xianxia looked at each other in silence. The shock that Lu Changshen had given them today was simply too great. Previously, they had thought that the Tree King bound by contract with Lu Changshen was just an ordinary third-rank demon king. But now that they had seen the Mount Sumeru Tree King, they realized their thoughts were too simplistic. Also, thinking about it, if Lu Changshen valued it so greatly, and even used formations to conceal it, how could it be just an ordinary third-rank demon king? Nevertheless, Lu Changshen had boldly revealed such a Tree King in front of them, making them feel trusted. After the Mount Sumeru Tree King had taken the Changshan Hall in a Mount Sumeru space, it began to root itself at the top of Baiyun Peak. Crystalline and translucent golden roots, as thick as a barrel, burst forth with vibrant vitality and splendid luster, slowly penetrating into the mountain to draw upon the spiritual mechanism of the spirit vein in Baiyun Peak. After a long while, the Mount Sumeru Tree King had completed rooting. The crystalline radiance flowing on its body gradually retracted, standing on top of Baiyun Peak like a golden, towering ancient tree. Mount Sumeru. Lu Changshen, with Ling Zixiao and Xianxia, approached the Mount Sumeru Tree King and called out. Swoosh! The next moment, a golden gate of light appeared before them. The three walked into the gate of light, passing through what felt like a layer of water curtain, entering the inner cave heaven of the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Lu Changshen surveyed the landscape within the cave heaven. Looking at its size, it was only a few square miles in area, with mountains, rivers, rocks, and trees, but it resembled a wasteland with only a solitary Changshan Hall. At the heights above the cave heaven and at the ends all around, everything seemed a fuzzy gray, in a state yet to evolve. After all, the Mount Sumeru Tree King was only third rank. Although a world was self-contained within it, this world was still in the nurturing phase. Only with enough strength could it truly evolve into a small world. There was spiritual energy in the air, but it was very sparse, just slightly better than the secular world, not even comparable to a first-grade spirit vein. It seems some renovation is indeed in order, Lu Changshen said, stroking his chin as he looked at the situation before him. Although it was habitable now, he thought the conditions were somewhat lacking. In the future, this would be his true core base, which of course had to be properly crafted. Master, please instruct. The voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King sounded, gentle and pure, bringing peace to one's mental spirit. It indicated that it could expend energy to make some improvements to this piece of heaven and earth. Growing some grass and trees around the palace wouldn't take too much energy, right? Lu Changshen asked the Mount Sumeru Tree King. He knew that whatever the Mount Sumeru Tree King wanted to do in the cave heaven would consume spiritual energy, even origin source. Yes, Master. The Mount Sumeru Tree King responded. In an instant, golden specks appeared from all sides, suffusing the area around Changshan Hall with vitality, as green grass began to grow. This looks much more pleasing to the eye, Lu Changshan commented, nodding his head. Then, with a slight movement of his mental spirit, he looked at the spiritual eye spring within his system space. Extract. Chapter 706, Companion Spirit Plant, Divine Wood Great Formation. Underscore 1. A water at the size of a vase, bubbling forth with spring water, emanating pure spiritual energy, appeared before Lu Changshen. This is the spiritual eye spring, Ling Zixiao exclaimed in shock upon seeing the spiritual eye spring before her. Spiritual eye spring. Xiaoxia's cold and stunningly beautiful face also showed a hint of surprise. Although the spiritual eye spring was not as staggering as a third-rank Tree King, it was still a rare treasure, coveted even by nascent soul immortals. After all, possessing a spiritual ice spring was tantamount to having a spirit vein with rich spiritual energy wherever one went. Indeed, it is the spiritual ice spring. The amount of spiritual energy required by Mount Sumeru is significant. If we rely solely on Baiyun Peak's spirit vein for sustenance, it will be far from sufficient. Therefore, placing this spiritual eye within the cave heaven can greatly alleviate the problem of insufficient spiritual energy. Lu Changsheng explained, looking at the spiritual ice spring before him. This was also his first time seeing what a spiritual ice spring looked like. He could distinctly feel that the water from the spiritual ice spring, like spiritual liquid, was crystal clear and resplendent, diffusing strands of pure spiritual energy throughout the heavens and earth. With this spiritual ice spring here, the issue with the Tree King's spiritual energy is indeed greatly relieved. Ling Zixiao said after a moment of silence. She had discussed the problem of the third-rank Tree King with Lu Changsheng before. At that time, she was curious about how Lu Changsheng would resolve it. She had never imagined that Lu Changsheng's solution would be so straightforward and forceful, placing a spiritual ice spring within the cave heaven. So this is the taste of the water from the spiritual ice spring. It's my first time tasting it. Ling Zixiao approached the spiritual ice spring, scooped up some water with her hand, and gently tasted it by her lips. She only felt a surge of pure spiritual energy spreading within her body. Lu Changsheng chuckled and also scooped up some water to taste. He found the taste mediocre, nothing particularly delicious. But such water, akin to spiritual liquid, transformed into pure spiritual energy as soon as it entered the stomach. You try some, Lu Changsheng said with a smile to Xianxia, who was standing aside. Upon hearing this, Xianxia stepped forward to lightly taste the spring water and spoke. The taste is average, but the spiritual energy is very pure. Indeed, this effect of the spiritual energy would be excellent for wine brewing, Lu Changsheng commented. Then he called out to the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Mount Sumeru. Master, please command me. The voice of the Mount Sumeru Tree King echoed throughout the cave heaven. Ling Zixiao and Xianxia, hearing this voice as melodious as the sound of nature and seeing Mount Sumeru's respectful demeanor towards Lu Changsheng, exchanged glances with each other, somewhat at a loss for words. If they hadn't known that this voice came from a third-rank Tree King, they would have thought it was a little maidservant raised by Lu Changsheng. Dig a small pit here for me. I shall plant the spiritual ice spring. Lu Changsheng instructed aloud. The spiritual ice spring could merge with the earth's veins, transforming into a true spiritual eye to nourish the abode. If one wishes to take it away, one simply needs to dig up the spiritual eye again. Yes, master, the Mount Sumeru Tree King replied. Instantly, a small pit appeared in front of Changsheng Hall. Lu Changsheng placed the spiritual ice spring into it. Soon, the spiritual ice spring slowly expanded, merging with the small pit, transforming into a small pond of zhang in size, continuously emitting thick and pure spiritual energy. In order to turn this place into a secret abode for daily cultivation, a single spiritual ice spring is not enough. We still need to acquire several more items related to the spiritual eye to create a spiritual vein here and elevate the spirit vein at Baiyun Peak. Lu Changsheng assessed the situation, stroked his chin, and thought to himself. He then inquired about Ling Zixiao and Xiaoxia's ideas and suggestions for constructing and modifying this place. Changsheng, you could treat this place as a miniature cave heaven for development, such as cultivating spirit fields, medicinal gardens, and raising spiritual beasts here. Xiaoxia expressed some interest as she looked at the scene before her. In her view, this was Lu Changsheng's new home, and naturally, she wanted to contribute some ideas for its design. For now, the spiritual energy from Baiyun Peak and the spiritual ice spring is just enough to supply the cultivation needs of the few of us in Mount Sumeru. If we were to cultivate spirit fields and medicinal gardens, we could have at most first-grade soil, Lu Changsheng said. He also felt that this place was a perfect base for himself. He could confidently and freely use many core items in this world, such as the Golden Armor Bean Mother, Blackwater Dragon Spirit Weapon. Moreover, it's very convenient to farm and fish in the Cave Heaven. With the Mount Sumeru Tree King as the lord of this world, as long as the power and nature's spiritual energy were sufficient, it could directly evolve second-grade soil and second-grade fishing grounds. There is no need to cultivate the spirit fields slowly, as with other spirit vein lands, nurturing and sorting the earth's veins. Xianxia, if you need spiritual origin pearls, the Qingyan sect should be able to exchange them. I will complete a few more tasks on my return, and the contribution should be enough to exchange for a spiritual origin pearl, Xianxia said softly. She had noticed that by Lake Mountain was currently under some strain regarding spiritual energy. No worries, for now we're managing. When we truly need them, they'll let you know, Shiyu. Lu Changsheng felt warmed inside and held Xiaoxia's delicate hand, speaking affectionately. Xiaoxia had already been delayed in her cultivation due to her pregnancy and the years spent accompanying Lu Wangshu. He had no intention of troubling her to undertake missions for the sake of a spiritual origin pearl, wasting her time. My lord, I wonder, aside from ruling over this cave heaven, what other divine skills does the esteemed Mount Sumeru possess? Earlier, you said that Mount Sumeru was also going to be stationed at by Lake Mountain, didn't you? Ling Zixiao, observing the state of the cave heaven, pondered before asking Lu Changsheng. Abilities? Lu Changsheng, hearing this, called out to the Mount Sumeru Tree King, Mount Sumeru, Master. The pure and ethereal voice of Mount Sumeru echoed through the heavens and the earth, beginning to introduce itself. It expressed that its innate talent was nurturing an entire world within its body, becoming its own cave heaven, ever creating and unceasing. Her understanding of formations was extremely profound, almost on par with Emo Shorin, the master they had invited before. Yes, Ling Zixiao wore a light smile, her voice crisp as she said, I have a second-tier top-level formation called the Divine Wood Great Formation. It is laid out using living spirit plants, spiritual trees, and demon plants as the foundation and focal points of the formation. Seeing the venerable Mount Sumeru gave me an idea, to use it as the core and the Mount Sumeru cave heaven as the main with the formation as support, creating a taboo formation comparable to a third rank. A third rank great formation requires a third rank spirit vein to maintain operation, but with the venerable Mount Sumeru present, there's no need for the support of a third rank spirit vein. Once the formation is complete, should danger arise, there's no need for the venerable Mount Sumeru to act, as we could directly activate the formation and pull the enemy into its cave heaven. Once they enter the cave heaven, the venerable Mount Sumeru can directly suppress the enemies without causing any disturbance externally. Ling Zixiao spoke with a bright gaze and vibrant spirit. She was aware that once the Mount Sumeru Tree King took action, it could potentially make a significant commotion. If it was turned into a formation, not only would there be an additional level of concealment, but the level of by Lake Mountain's great formation would also rise another notch. Moreover, as an array master, she wanted to realize her own ideas and formations. Like the Divine Wood Great Formation, she had only ever laid out a weakened version of the second-rank lower tier. She had never set up a second-tier top-level Divine Wood Great Formation. Now, upon seeing the Mount Sumeru Tree King, she aspired to use such a distinguished third-rank Tree King as the core focus of the Divine Wood Great Formation, and her heart was filled with immense expectation and desire to attempt it. The Divine Wood Great Formation, a third-rank taboo formation. Lu Changsheng's eyebrows raised upon hearing this. He knew the difference between second-rank formations and third-rank was like heaven and earth. A third-rank great formation, known as a taboo formation, was self-contained, without weaknesses or flaws, and not comparable to any second-rank formation. Unexpectedly, Ling Zixiao claimed she could lay out a formation comparable to a third-rank taboo formation. Zixiao, is this divine wood great formation troublesome, and will setting it up affect Mount Sumeru? Lu Changsheng inquired of Ling Zixiao. Extremely troublesome. First, Mount Sumeru must be the core when laying out the divine wood great formation. Then, through nested formations, overlaying method, it must be connected with the Bai Shui Qing Tian Great Formation of Bai Lake Mountain. If the Great Formation is inactive on normal days, it will continue to appear to others as the current Bai Shui Qing Tian Great Formation. Once the Divine Wood Great Formation is activated, it will transform into the near third-rank Divine Wood Great Formation and catch people off guard. However, the Bai Lake Mountain Great Formation and the Oceanic Grand Formation of Bai Shui Lake are currently overlaid and still not perfected. If we now attempt to connect with the Divine Wood Great Formation, some problems will arise during the process, so I'm not 100% sure of success. But this Divine Wood Great Formation will not affect the venerable Mount Sumeru. If there is any impact during the process, we can stop at any time. Ling Zixiao said excitedly, her bright, beautiful eyes sparkling with expectation of the challenge. Being able to reach this stage on the formation path, aside from her exceptional talent, arose from her constant pursuit of breakthroughs and self-challenges. On normal days, showing the Bai Shui Tianqing Great Formation to others, and once the Divine Wood Great Formation is activated, it becomes a third-rank Great Formation. Lu Changsheng pondered for a moment before calling out to the Mount Sumeru Tree King, Mount Sumeru. Mount Sumeru will follow Master's arrangements. The voice of Mount Sumeru was still so ethereal and pure, bringing tranquility to one's spirit. Chapter 708. Chapter 708. Good. Since that's the case, we'll do as you suggest, Zixiao. However, your body is not yet recovered, so don't push yourself. The formation can wait. There's no need to rush. If the setup process involves anything related to Mount Sumeru, you can communicate directly with it. Lu Changsheng spoke to Ling Zixiao. He knew that setting up a great formation was extremely draining on one's mental spirit and energy. Ling Zixiao had just finished setting up the inverted 5 elements formation. Now she was about to set up an even more complex and troublesome Divine Wood Great Formation, which made him worry about her health. However, from the desire he saw in her beautiful eyes, he didn't want to disappoint her. "Thank you, my lord. I will take care of myself," said Ling Zixiao, her elegant face breaking into a charming smile. "Shiyu, Zixiao, now that we have Mount Sumeru supporting us, I leave the family affairs in your hands. I will be heading to Red Leaf Valley Market to oversee things for a while to prevent any danger to Qingzhou Mountain or the Red Leaf Valley Market," Lu Changsheng said. Although the specifics of the robber cultivators incident were still unclear, he planned to stay at the Red Leaf Valley Market for a while in case anything unexpected occurred. "My lord, rest assured." "All right, Changsheng, don't worry." The two women responded upon hearing this. Then, Lu Changsheng mentioned his trip to the Red Leaf Valley Market to Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, and Chu Xinjin. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaohuan expressed a desire to visit Qingzhou Mountain and take a stroll through the Red Leaf Valley Market. Lu Changsheng did not object and agreed to take her along the next day. After all, the Red Leaf Valley Market was not far from Bai Shui Lake, and he needed to return periodically to treat Ling Zixiao's condition, especially now that she was setting up a great formation and he needed to pay even closer attention to her health. That night, Lu Changsheng treated Ling Zixiao throughout the night, and the next day he took Lu Miaohuan to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Due to the robber cultivators incident, the Red Leaf Valley Market had seen a slight decline in foot traffic. However, the market had been struggling for the last decade. 10 years ago, a hard-won auction held by the 4 major families boosted name recognition and traffic, but a subsequent robbery by cultivators wiped out all those efforts. And over the past decade, incidents involving the Demon Path and the family's internal struggles meant the market's reputation suffered, and few loose cultivators visited. After all, When loose cultivators look for a marketplace to settle down, they generally prefer well-established and stable ones. Despite offering many favorable policies to loose cultivators, the Red Leaf Valley market still lacked competitiveness. Now, with some time to spare, upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley market, Lu Changsheng took Lu Miaohuan to inspect the family's properties and review the situation. The talisman shops and the fishing stores were currently doing well. The puppet shop had opened a month ago, but had little business so far. Lu Changxing knew that such things required time to gain a reputation, so more customers would come as the name and quality became recognized. After all, the Red Leaf Valley market was only so big, and most loose cultivators belonged to the lower levels of the cultivation world, so asking them to spend 200 spirit stones on a puppet was somewhat difficult. After staying in the Red Leaf Valley for 10 days, Lu Changsheng took Lu Miaohuan back to Qingzhou Mountain and then returned to Baishui Lake to treat Ling Zixiao. Ling Zixiao also presented Lu Changsheng with a formation diagram to look over. She said she had reorganized and adjusted the formation setup of Baishui Lake during this time. The oceanic bead formation set with 36 oceanic beads in Baishui Lake was no longer linked to the heavenly azure of Baishui formation. As an auxiliary formation on its own, it nurtures the spirit vein fishes and shrimp in the lake, promoting the rapid advancement of the lake's spirit vein to the second rank. Using the principle that water nourishes wood, the spiritual vein of Baishui Lake was connected to the Mount Sumeru Tree King. Once the Great Formation was established, it could harness the spiritual energy of the spiritual vein of Baishui Lake to nurture the Mount Sumeru Tree King. What's more, the hazy mist over the waters could further conceal the condition of the Mount Sumeru Tree King. As for the Baishui Tianqing Great Formation and the Divine Wood Great Formation, those remain unchanged. Under normal circumstances, the Great Formation will still be the Baishui Tianqing Great Formation, with the inner core being the Divine Wood Great Formation, both of which can be switched via the Mount Sumeru Tree King. This is something you can handle yourself, Lu Changsheng said with a smile. He did not understand formations, but he believed in Ling Zixiao. Besides, if there were any issues with the Divine Wood Great Formation, the Mount Sumeru Tree King would detect and sense them. After treating Ling Zixiao, Lu Changsheng spent some time with his wives and children, then returned to Qingzhou Mountain to preside over the Red Leaf Valley market. Thinking back to when the elder ancestor of the Su family had asked him to craft a mystical frost talisman for Surian, Lu Changsheng thought it had been almost 3 months. He immediately drew 2 mystical frost talismans and had the people from Zheng family at Red Leaf Valley Market notify Su Ringguang. Meanwhile, Nine Dragons Market, in a small courtyard. Big brother, all 4 families have kept their doors closed, and even when they go out, they cover their tracks. I think there's no need to delay any longer. We should take care of them soon and avenge our 5th brother. A middle-aged man with a fair face and a soft, sinister look said. Indeed, the 4 families combined have only 5 individuals at Foundation Establishment, and they're all just straw bag cultivators at the early stage of Foundation Establishment. Aside from Lu Changsheng, who possesses a legacy of talisman formations, the others are not worth mentioning. A bald man with a rough face and a scar on his head said with a vicious laugh. Second brother, I've investigated, and although Wugong Ridge Zheng family doesn't have a Foundation Establishment cultivator, they have invited a mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator from Yushui Su family to guard the place. Tao Xiaolan, who was dressed in a peach-colored gown, spoke up. Just a mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator. Moreover, this Su family cultivator may not even wish to get involved in this mess. The bald man scoffed, clearly undervaluing the mid-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator. Indeed, there's nothing worth dithering over. I see our 5th brother is also getting impatient these days. Has there been any movement from Qingyun's sect during this time? The red-robed big man, sitting at the head of the table, asked nonchalantly. Qingyun's sect has no time to worry about such matters. The beast tide has just ended. They must be busy, the fair-faced, dark-browed, middle-aged man, snorted with disdain. Well then, let's make it 5 days from now. It's a good day for killing, the red-robed man said with a sneer upon hearing this. Thank you, big brother. Fanya's eyes lit up with joy as he got up and bowed his thanks. After returning to Qinyan region, the seed of hatred in his heart had quickly sprouted, anxiously wanting to exact revenge. Throughout these days, this seed of hatred had grown into a towering tree, causing images of his parents' tragic deaths to frequently flash across his mind. He knew that for these 10 years, hatred had been the driving force propelling him forward, becoming his obsession, his heart demon. He must use this hatred to unravel the obsessions in his heart. In that case, 5 days from now, I will join our 5th brother in warming them up. Once people from all 4 families gather, big brother and second brother can make their move, allowing our 5th brother to take his revenge joyfully. The slender and shadowy figure in a black robe cackled with laughter. Chapter 709. Ancient Relic Site. Robber Cultivator Causes Chaos. _1 Red Leaf Valley Marketplace. The Liu family's spiritual talisman shop by Lake Mountain. Daoist Su, I must apologize. During this time, I have only managed to draw 2 mystical frost talismans. Lu Changsheng looked at the Su Ringguang before him and bowed slightly, his voice tinged with a hint of embarrassment. 2. Su Ringguang's eyes brightened at these words, his face revealing a delighted surprise. After all, in his opinion, the fact that Lu Changsheng could draw a mystical frost talisman was already a surprise. He hadn't expected Lu Changsheng to actually draw 2. This gave him a clear recognition of Lu Changsheng's talisman-making skill and innate talent for the talisman path. He took out a gift box from his storage bag and said politely, "Thank you for the trouble, Lu Daoist. My Su family owes you a favor." Even though second-rank talismans could still be bought on the market, it was very difficult to purchase niche superior second-rank spirit talismans like the mystical frost talisman. Since the other party was willing to help with talisman making, he naturally wanted to show his appreciation properly. Daoist Su is too polite. I just happen to have a favor to ask of you. Does your noble family breed any aquatic demon beasts with dragon blood in them? Lu Changsheng received the gift box and spoke with a smile. He was willing to help the other party draw talismans because of the face of the beast-taming Su family. He was thinking of getting some high-quality aquatic dragon-blooded demon beasts through Su Ringguang to refine the Blackwater Dragon Spirit Weapon. Although during this time, he had already learned of several aquatic demon beasts capable of being refined into the Blackwater Dragon Spirit Weapon, the quality of these beasts was somewhat lacking. To refine them into spirit weapons and nurture them would consume more time and resources. If he could obtain high-grade, dragon blood-rich aquatic demon beasts and refine them into Blackwater Jiao Dragon Spirit Weapons, then the nurturing process would be much simpler. Lu Changsheng was even looking forward to directly drawing a flood dragon through the system lottery. If so, he could refine it into a Blackwater Dragon Spirit Weapon and use this as a leader to cultivate other Dao soldiers. Since attracts like the bathwater and even a splash of urine from this flood dragon spirit weapon would benefit the other Dao soldiers and aquatic demon beasts. Aquatic demon beasts containing dragon blood. After hearing this, Su Ringguang fell into deep thought and said, "May I ask what the Mountain Lord needs them for? And how many do you require?" The Scarlet Blood Carps and Azure Blood Carps by Lake Mountain contain some dragon blood, do they not? I have obtained a breeding heritage and wish to improve the environment through aquatic dragon-blooded demon beasts to promote the growth of these 2 types of carps. Therefore, as for those beasts, the more, the merrier, and the stronger, the better. Lu Changsheng explained nonchalantly. Improve the ecology. Su Ringguang nodded slightly at these words, without asking any further, and then spoke. Mountain Lord should also know that such beasts are difficult to nurture. As of now, my Su family has greenhorn fish with mid-grade inferior bloodlines and inked jade serpents with mid-grade superior bloodlines. Both are aquatic demon beasts with a trace of dragon blood. For instance, when nurtured to second rank, greenhorn fish become greenhorn dragon fish. Ink jade serpents become ink jade flood serpents. If the mountain lord is in need, my Sioux family can sell 10 of each, greenhorn fish and ink jade serpents, Su Ringguang said. In the cultivation world, no one liked to owe favors. Therefore, he was also willing to sell a few beasts to Lu Changsheng to clear the debt of the talisman favor. Only mid-grade inferior and superior. Upon hearing this, Lu Changsheng felt somewhat disappointed, but a mid-grade bloodline beast was still acceptable. He bowed and responded, "If that's the case, I thank Taoist Su. As for the price of these two types of beasts, just sell them to me at the normal rate. Of course, the stronger they are, the better." Lu Changsheng's face showed a smile as he spoke. In terms of price, it will be calculated based on the strength of the demon beasts. For example, a first-grade initial phase greenhorn fish normally costs 150 spirit stones, a mid-phase one for 120, and a late phase one, 1,500. If that's what the mountain lord needs, how about all prices at a 60% discount? Su Ringguang offered, full of sincerity. In that case, thank you very much, Taoist Su, Lu Changsheng said with a bow and a smile. He purchased 10 greenhorn fish and 10 ink jade serpents from Su Ringguang. They included 1 late phase first grade, 2 mid-phase first grade, and 7 initial phase first grade. As for second-rank demon beasts, the Su family would not sell them to the public. Or rather, the Yushui Su family did not even have many second-rank demon beasts to sell. The spirit stones can wait until after everything is settled. I will arrange for them when I return to the family, Su Ringguang said aloud. All right, ill trouble Taoist Su with that, Lu Changsheng replied with a smile. Su Ringguang then bade farewell and left. Greenhorn fish, ink jade serpent. Lu Changsheng murmured to himself, feeling somewhat expectant of the effects these two beasts would have when refined into Tao soldiers. Moreover, buying these beasts at a 60% discount meant that even if the results weren't ideal, he wouldn't stand to lose much. That night, the heavens were as dark as ink. Red Leaf Valley Marketplace was silent. At this time, in a small courtyard with bright lights, 5 men and 1 woman looked out at the night sky, chatting casually in the main hall. Our 5th brother is getting impatient, said the man in the red robe sitting at the head seat, noticing the restless and occasionally fierce-looking Fong Yu, and then he addressed the others. Since that's the case, 3rd brother, 4th brother, Xiaolon, you all go with the 5th brother. Yes, big brother. The few of them nodded in response. 5th brother, they'll take care of the great formation of the Red Leaf Valley Market. You can do as you please with the others. The middle-aged man with a gentle, jade-like complexion and a sinister expression offered. Kek. 5th brother, however you want to do it tonight. Your 4th brother will follow. The thin, gloomy-looking elder laughed eerily. Chapter 710. Ancient Relic Site. Robber Cultivator Causes Chaos. Brother Yu, Tao Xiaolan, standing beside Fong Yu, said this as she held his hand. Okay, thank you for the trouble, brothers. Fong Yu held his partner's hand, looked towards the old man and the man in red robes among others, took a deep breath, and nodded vigorously. His eyes were then dark as ink, and his brows filled with ferocity. His ability to become brothers with those 4 men was a testament to his extraordinary strength, having once gained a great opportunity. Little 5th is too polite. I, as 3rd brother, will head over first. Once the great formation is activated, you can make your move. The middle-aged man, with a jade-like complexion and gentle brows, patted Fong Yu on the shoulder. Then, with a folding fan in hand, he flew towards the gate of the Red Leaf Valley Market. 4th brother, Xiaolan, let's start from gathering immortals in. Fong Yu said in a cold voice. 10 years ago, it was from gathering immortals in that he and his parents had begun to plunder the marketplace. Now, he was about to face the events of 10 years prior and relive those moments. However, the difference was, back then, both his parents had lost their lives in the Red Leaf Valley Market. But tonight he intended to massacre the Red Leaf Valley Market and destroy the four great families. After saying this, Feng Yu, Tao Xiaolan, and the old man left. I hope after we've avenged this lad, he'll be willing to bring out the map and the token for the ancient relic site in the Myriad Beast mountain range. Looking at the departing Feng Yu and others, a burly man with a scarred head drank deeply from a jug. This shouldn't be a problem. Xiao Tao said Feng Yu's loyalty is almost secured. As long as the great revenge is settled, with the bond of brotherhood, he won't forget us few when he explores the ancient relic site. And given the danger of exploring that site alone with his strength, he would certainly require assistance. The man in red robes also took large swigs from his jug. Traveling all across the land, pillaging and plundering, they naturally weren't bound by brotherly affection, but rather by shared interests. After all, how much is brotherly love worth? The reason they had traveled far, from Myriad Beast mountain range and Azure Phoenix Immortal City to the Qingyun region, was to avenge their little brother, but with an ulterior motive. The moon was hazy, and all was silent. Boom! Suddenly, a thunderous and earth-shattering noise erupted in the Red Leaf Valley Market. Under the night sky, the second-rank great formation of the marketplace, heavenly cloud and water formation, was enveloped in spiritual light, alternately bright and dark, as clouds and mist rolled turbulently. 7 deadly wolf smoke gourds. Standing in front of Gathering Immortals Inn, Feng Yu saw the scene unfold and spoke fiercely. A dark green gourd appeared in his hand, with dark light flowing over it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A terrifying black mist erupted from the gourd like wolf smoke, rising into the sky and forming 7 black columns of smoke that seemed to pierce through heaven and earth. Kill! Feng Yu, looking at Gathering Immortals Inn, formed hand seals. Immediately, the 7 columns of wolf smoke merged into a massive and terrifying human face that devoured the inn. Not good. It's an enemy attack. Enemy attack. Quickly inform the ancestor. How dare these bandit cultivators cause chaos in our Red Leaf Valley Market? The patrolling cultivators in the market saw this and immediately yelled, pulling the alarm and activating the market's great formation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The previously indifferent clouds covering the market started to gather quickly, becoming dense along with the flowing spiritual light, forming a cyan jade bowl. However, at that moment, horrifying forces bombarded the cyan jade bowl, causing the glazed surface to shatter like porcelain with dense web-like cracks. At the same time, inside a simple and elegant cave dwelling, Lu Changsheng, Lu Miaoge, and Lu Miaohuan, who had just fallen asleep, woke up. Is someone attacking the market's great formation? Lu Miaoge held a token and an array plate in her hands. The light on them fluctuated, pulsing with spiritual light. She immediately manipulated the array plate, powering the Red Leaf Valley Market's great formation with all its might. Then she put on the snow-white gauze skirt, stockings, undergarments, and a chest piece embroidered with clouds and water, while her black hair was simply gathered and draped over her fragrant shoulders. Now that she was in charge of the Red Leaf Valley Market, she naturally had to deal with such matters immediately. Could it be the robber cultivator who brought the bell before? Lu Changsheng furrowed his brows and said aloud. He did not hesitate or delay. He immediately got up, dressed, and said to Lu Miaohuan, Huan Huan, you stay inside the cave and do not go out. Sister Miaoge, and I will go take a look. Okay, Lu Changsheng's sister, be careful. Lu Miaohuan replied with a light pursing of her lips. She knew that with her 7th level energy refinement cultivation level, she wouldn't be of much help if she went out now. It was in times like these that she felt the lack of her own strength. Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge left the cave abode. Boom, boom, boom. Dash, they immediately saw countless rays of spiritual light bombarding the heavenly cloud and water formation above the Red Leaf Valley Market. This caused the entire great formation to surge with spiritual light, which flickered on and off in the night sky, accompanied by muffled, thunderous sounds, eerie and astonishing. Over in the commercial district, a gigantic and ferocious black face was howling and roaring. The scene before him made Lu Changsheng feel a sense of déjà vu. It looks like it is most likely that robber cultivator who sent the bell before. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng said with a cold expression. Without saying more, he and Lu Miaoge turned into beams of escape light and flew towards the commotion. Back 10 years ago, the indiscriminate looting by a robber cultivator caused the Red Leaf Valley market to be greatly weakened, and it still hadn't fully recovered. Furthermore, afterwards, the four big families had to make quite a lot of compensation to the many merchants and powers that had settled in. Seeing this kind of trouble now, they naturally had to suppress and resolve it immediately. Otherwise, if things got out of hand, the Red Leaf Valley market might truly be ruined, and they could only rely on it as a spiritual land to make money. What's going on? Is someone attacking the market's great formation? Damn it, I knew I shouldn't have come to the Red Leaf Valley market for some small benefits. It's over. With only the Lu family ancestor, Lu Miaoge, presiding over Qingzhou Mountain section of the market, and she has only just broken through to Foundation establishment. Now, with the robber cultivators causing trouble, they must be well prepared. This Red Leaf Valley market has barely been open for more than 10 years, and already so many problems have arisen. Indeed, one cannot rely on a small market. I wonder if the Lord of By Lake Mountain, who suppressed 3 Foundation establishment cultivators by himself, will come. With the disturbance in the Great Formation and the commercial district, many cultivators awoke from their sleep or meditation, looking at the situation beneath the night sky with panic on their faces. After all, relative to others, the Red Leaf Valley market was just a small market, and most of the loose cultivators that came here were lower ranked. At the same time, some cultivators looked at the situation with greed, ferocity, and hesitance in their eyes. Swoosh! Swoosh! 2 beams of escape light arrived above the commercial district. Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge immediately saw a thin old man, a black-robed young man, and a woman in a pink skirt wrecking the shops of the market and slaughtering the cultivators in the inns. Foundation Establishment, 5th level. Foundation Establishment, 2nd level. 9th level energy refinement. Lu Changsheng's divine sense was comparable to the peak of Foundation Establishment, and he saw the cultivation levels of the 3 people at a glance. Seeing their cultivation strength, his brows slightly furrowed, puzzled where these 3 got the courage to cause trouble. And they even dared to carry out such a brainless act as sending the bell. But looking up at the flickering Great Formation above, he knew there were Foundation Establishment cultivators hidden in the shadows. He immediately said to Lu Miaoge, Sister Miaoge, that black-robed young man is of 2nd level Foundation Establishment. You handle him. Leave that old man to me. 2 Foundation Establishments? Fang Yu and his companions were surprised and puzzled upon seeing Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge arrive. After all, according to the information he had, there was only 1 Foundation Establishment cultivator, Lu Miaoge, presiding over the Red Leaf Valley market. But with the backing of his elder brothers, he wasn't afraid at all, and as malevolence surged between his brows, his hands formed a seal, and he shouted, 7 evils wolf smoke, strike. Awu! The terrifying black smoke face in the air that was destroying buildings emitted a ghostly, wolf-like screech, charging at Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. River of Qi, break! In Lu Miaoge's hands appeared a blue crossbow, with water-like ripples flowing through it. Channeling mana, she fired swoosh, swoosh, swoosh towards the ferocious wolf smoke in the air. Strike! Lu Changsheng also did not hesitate, summoning a low-grade spiritual sword. The spiritual sword let out a clear ring, releasing a sharp sword rainbow that sliced through the air, heading straight towards the thin old man. Chapter 711. With Lu Mountain Lord here, tonight will be settled. Underscorfed. Lu Miaoge's river arrow crossbow flashed wildly in her hand, surging with azure brilliance, piercing and scattering the black, smoky faces in the night sky. But the black smoke was extremely dense. As soon as it dispersed, it reconverged and continued to attack Lu Miaoga. Immortal Talisman. Seeing this scene, Lu Miaoga's expression tightened, knowing the river arrow crossbow alone couldn't defeat the opponent. She took out a second-rank Immortal Talisman, and immediately, a chill engulfed the area, sweeping towards the black, smoky face in an attempt to freeze it solid. Facing the Immortal Talisman, the black, smoky face developed patches of frost, appearing sluggish and stiff. Water Dragon Technique. True water into dragon. Seeing this, Lu Miaoga immediately formed hand seals and cast an advanced-level spell from the Water of Virtue technique. Mana from within her body and the surrounding spiritual energy converged and flowed, causing a mist of water to swirl above her head, gradually forming into a lifelike, vivid miniature water dragon. Xiaolan moved back. On the other side, the gaunt old man faced the flying sword sent by Lu Changsheng, his voice hoarse and piercing. Amid his words, two black chains shot out from the sleeves with the liveliness of black snakes hissing with their tongues. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two black chains, like giant pythons, intertwined around the flying sword, attempting to strangle it. Clang! The black chains collided with the flying sword, emitting a sound of metal striking metal. Immediately after, the chains wrapped tightly around the flying sword like dark spirit snakes, producing a sharp and grating crack noise. Somewhat capable, Lu Changsheng chuckled lightly, recognizing that the gaunt old man was no slouch. He slapped his spiritual beast pouch and released his six-winged golden silkworm. Now that the six-winged golden silkworm had advanced to the second rank, he wanted to see the specific combat power of this spiritual insect. After all, if he could resolve the battle this easily, he would expose too much of his own strength, especially the various techniques of a sword cultivator. Back when he made his move in the Red Leaf Valley Market, he used the techniques of the 7 Luminaries sword scripture to kill 2 robber cultivators. If he were to use the shimmering shadow condensation sword techniques now, he would undoubtedly be recognized as the sword cultivator from back then, which would cause trouble. Whoosh! No sooner had the 6-winged golden silkworm appeared than its wings flapped, turning into a bloodthirsty, brilliant golden light that fiercely shot toward the gaunt old man. What is this? Facing the golden light, the gaunt old man's eyes narrowed slightly, a sense of foreboding rising in his heart. He did not dare to be careless, and quickly formed a spell to raise a dark green shield. From the dark green shield, a green light barrier emerged, enveloping both the gaunt old man and Tao Xiaolan. Bang! A loud collision sounded. The 6-winged golden silkworm rammed directly into the dark green shield, causing a slight dent in it. Such a hard body. What kind of spiritual insect is this? Seeing this scene, the gaunt old man looked at the 6-winged golden silkworm, and his eyelids twitched again. He immediately formed seals with his hands and sent a chain slashing towards the 6-winged golden silkworm. After this collision, the 6-winged golden silkworm was clearly angered. It utterly ignored the black chains and continued to surge with radiant golden light, swelling to the size of a small cauldron, and continued to slam fiercely against the dark green shield. Indeed, Slay. Lu Changsheng witnessed the scene, nodded slightly, and then brought his fingers together, pointing at his spiritual artifact. Humming, the spiritual sword entangled by the black chains immediately began to tremble violently, releasing sharp sword chi that tore through the air and charged towards the emaciated elder. This is bad. Seeing this, the emaciated elder conjured a white long banner in his hands and formed hand seals, from which trails of white mist emerged, transforming into walls of white fog. At the same time, the little water dragon above Lu Miaoga's head took shape. One could see the water dragon rapidly growing to the naked eye, turning into a majestic water dragon with prominent horns and glistening blue scales, emanating holy and dignified aura. Water dragons chant. Lu Miaoga formed hand seals, her aura as gentle as water. Roar! In an instant, the water dragon roared towards the heavens, unleashing a majestic and vast surge of qi, emitting a long and profound dragon chant. The dragon chant, composed of what seemed like thousands of notes, rolled forward like a torrent, forming hurricanes that swept towards the black smoke creature's face. Puff, puff, puff. The black smoke face formed by the 7 Sha wolfsbane smoke was continuously sliced, torn, and dispersed by the dragon chant hurricanes, scattering into disarray. How is this possible? Fang Yu was astonished by this spectacle. It was known that his 7 Sha wolfsbane gourd was an exceedingly formidable spiritual artifact. When he had just made breakthrough in Foundation establishment, he relied on this gourd to escape from the hands of a middle-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Yet now, Lu Miaoga managed to break through his 7 Sha wolfsbane smoke with a single spell. 7 Sha wolfsbane, echo of the celestial wolf. Fang Yu's eyes glinted fiercely as he formed hand seals, mana surging as he tried to recondense the dispersed wolfsbane smoke, attempting to transform it into a 7 Sha celestial wolf. Water dragon technique. Shatter. Lu Miaoga formed hand seals, causing the water dragon in the sky to roar and lunge with bared fangs and claws, directly tearing the condensing black smoke to shreds. The water dragon's body was glistening, and waves of deep blue water qi undulated, evaporating and refining much of the black wolf smoke. Howl! 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 As the wolf smoke was being refined and evaporated by the water dragon, echoes of ghostly cries and wolf howls arose. Well done! Lu Changsheng revealed a smile on his face upon seeing this. Although he had a general idea of Lu Miaoga's strength, he was not truly clear about her combat prowess. Through the water dragon technique she displayed, he gained a clearer understanding. 7 luminaries, sword qi, kill. He continued watching his own opponent, the emaciated elder. Inside his dantian, the 7 luminaries' heart lamp flickered as countless strands of sword qi burst forth from his palm, turning into fine and sharp threads of sword qi heading towards the emaciated elder. Faced with such a ferocious onslaught, the emaciated elder had no choice but to defend with the dark green little shield and the white long banner. Not only is Lu Changsheng's strength astonishing, he also has a second-rank spiritual pet. The inheritance he acquired is definitely not just about the talisman path. That last too. Fang Yu, wielding the 7-kill wolf smoke gourd, could match a Foundation establishment middle-stage cultivator, but now he can't even beat this little girl. The bald man rubbed the scar on his head and spoke. Their combat power is indeed not simple. If you said they were disciples of the immortal sex, I'd believe it. They don't at all look like the trash Foundation establishment from a minor family. The man in the red robe said. As he spoke, a jade talisman in his hand flickered on and off. Oh, they're already calling for help. The man in the red robe sneered. Since Fang Yu doesn't want to play anymore, then let's take action. These two must have encountered great fortune. If we capture them, our trip here will also yield a great harvest. Fang Yu really has quite the fortune and luck. The bald man sneered, initially getting an inheritance from a nascent soul immortal's cave, and now we come here and stumble upon such a great opportunity. Ha ha! Indeed, the kid is truly a lucky star. The two laughed heartily and then soared into the sky, turning into streaks of light flying towards the marketplace. This Lu family ancestor of Qingzhou Mountain is pretty formidable. I heard she only broke through Foundation establishment a few years ago, yet she already has such combat power. Not just her, the Bai Lake Mountain Master also broke through Foundation establishment just a few years ago. I heard before that by Lake Mountain Master relied on a talisman formation to kill 3 Foundation establishment cultivators. I thought his combat power depended entirely on talismans. Didn't expect his spell-fighting ability to be so extraordinary, too. Exactly, with Mountain Master Lu here, we're set for tonight. In the marketplace, many people watched the battle situation on the main street from a distance. They didn't dare to approach, but could still see the general state of affairs. Seeing Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge clearly having the advantage put their minds at ease. Wait, what's the situation? Why are there 2 more Foundation building great cultivators? Just then, someone suddenly noticed 2 streaks of light appearing, flying towards the main street. Those 2 wouldn't happen to be robber cultivators too, would they? Most likely. Does that mean this group of robbers has 4 Foundation building great cultivators? No. There are also robber cultivators interfering with the marketplace's great formation. This. No wonder they dared to make a direct move on the marketplace. It's all over. I hope Mountain Master Lu can still set up a talisman formation and suppress the robbers. Many cultivators saw 2 escape lights hurtling towards the bustling marketplace, their hearts suddenly sinking. After all, aside from the 4 big families arranging Foundation establishment cultivators to be stationed, there were no other Foundation establishment cultivators residing in Red Leaf Valley Market. Now, with the sudden appearance of 2 Foundation establishment cultivators, it was clear they were up to no good, most likely allies of the robbers. In the marketplace, 9 out of 10 people had never seen a Foundation establishment cultivator before. Tonight, seeing so many all at once had left many feeling bewildered. At that moment, in the commercial district, boom, 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 Lu Changsheng unleashed a thunder fire infatuation talisman, turning it into endless thunder and earth fire, attacking the gaunt old man. Facing such a terrifying offensive, the gaunt old man was in deep trouble. He had not expected that someone who had broken through Foundation establishment just a few years ago would have such fierce combat power, along with second-rank supreme talismans, hardly inferior to the true transmission of immortal sex. He exerted all his strength to activate his dark green shield, forming a dark green light cover. A white long banner by his side fluttered loudly, as white mist billowed and spread continuously, forming multiple barriers all around. At the same time, she wielded a talisman painted with a bronze spear, radiating a terrifying aura. It was the bronze spear charm that Lu Changsheng had given her. She too sensed the arrival of 2 Foundation establishment cultivators with daunting auras, and knew these robber cultivators were not simple, daring not to hold back in the slightest. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. After seeing the emaciated elder's death, Lu Changsheng brought forth a fan forged from black fine iron. The fan in his hand turned into numerous black, true mystery spikes shooting out, forming a black iron carapace around Lu Miaoge. He knew the vermilion bird ring talisman in front of him was extraordinarily dangerous, being a talisman treasure with significant killing power. He worried it might accidentally harm Lu Miaoge. Meanwhile, seeing the arrival of the 2 Foundation establishment cultivators, nearly 100 talismans streamed from his sleeves, settling in all directions around them, intending to seal off both himself and Lu Miaoge. Roaring thunder. The vermilion bird ring, like a golden divine bird, struck Lu Miaoge's golden light barrier, producing a violent cacophony. Countless flames burned upon the golden light, causing it to dim instantly and shatter into fragmented golden specks. However, just as the vermilion bird ring was about to continue its attack on Lu Miaoge, a red-gold flying sword shot forth, exploding with endless sharp radiance, breaking through Fang Ye's protective aura. Fang Yu felt his hair stand on end, his mental spirit trembling. The next moment, his world spun wildly, and he saw a headless corpse. At the neck of the headless body, there was a red-gold flying sword. He was the sword cultivator from back then. A surge of hatred, anger, and fear arose in Feng Ye's heart. But before he could continue to ponder, his consciousness plunged into an endless darkness. Chapter 714. The Might of the Nine-Colored Tribulation Lightning, Dual Cultivation Technique. Underscore 1. With the death of Feng Yu, the vermilion divine bird in the sky suddenly lost its mana support. It let out a mournful cry as the flames dissipated, transforming back into a red-yellow talisman treasure, falling from the sky. Lu Changsheng reached out with his man-enforced hand, intending to capture the talisman treasure. "You brat courting death." Just then, a heaven-shaking, furious roar erupted. A man of towering height and a frame as formidable as a mountain, clad in crimson robes, charged towards Lu Changsheng. His eyes were sharp, his expression ferocious. His entire being emanated a pressuring aura that diminished the boldness of those who laid eyes upon him by a third. Especially his eyes, which at the moment of contact seemed like fire and blood, as if a demon tiger choosing its prey, bursting with an intimidating luster. Combined with the deafening roar, it caused Lu Changsheng's mental spirit to falter momentarily. This was some rare, secret technique of divine sense attack. Luckily, Lu Changsheng's divine sense was comparable to that of a cultivator at the pinnacle of Foundation establishment, and he was protected by a spirit-calming spiritual artifact, so he quickly regained his composure after a brief spell of dizziness. However, in the blink of an eye, the burly man in crimson robes tore through the air, appearing before Lu Changsheng. His towering body convulsed with muscles, writhing like dragons and snakes, exuding a terrifying physical presence, and he threw a punch. Boom! His punch, like the striking of a divine drum, carried godlike strength, intent on exploding both Lu Changsheng and the air in front of him. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Changsheng's spiritual artifact, soft armor, belt, and ring spontaneously conjured protective shields in that instant, creating numerous colorful light barriers around him. And Lu Changsheng's own body shone with treasured light as his fists radiated endless golden brilliance, powerfully swinging to deflect the terrifying force of the blow. Boom, boom, boom. The two colossal forces clashed like relentless, surging waves against the shore, raising a ceaseless roaring din. A terrifying shockwave erupted from the epicenter where the two men stood, sweeping out in all directions. The merchant street's bluestone flooring trembled and cracked, turning into flying gravel. The surrounding shops and pavilions also shook violently, on the verge of collapse. Their windows shattered and dust filled the air. This so terrifying. Is this the strength of a Foundation establishment, great cultivator? I've seen a fight between cultivators at the Foundation establishment level before, but it was nowhere near this shocking. However, in that very moment, Wu, Gu, Ba, Ma, Hum, Ya, Shi, Hung, a series of urgent and intense sound waves, reminiscent of a dragon tiger's roar, surged towards Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge. Bang, 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 bang. The visible sound waves spread out, scattering the talismans that Lu Changsheng placed in the four corners of the sky and earth. The pavilions around the street, already on the brink of collapse from the residual energy waves, crumbled, windows exploded, signs were ripped away and shattered into pieces. What is this sound? My head hurts so much. I feel like my blood is boiling and my heart's racing. Cover your ears, close your senses. Such a terrifying sound wave spell. How can a person produce such a sound? Energy refining cultivators who were somewhat closer to the merchant street experienced their blood and energy surge tumultuously, their faces showing painful expressions due to the roaring. Ape demons subduing God Club. An imposing bald man with a scarred scalp and a towering stature emerged from the roar, wielding a black short stick, furiously charging at Lu Changsheng. Chapter 715. the might of the nine-color tribulation lightning, dual cultivation technique. Their effort on Feng Yu was considerable, to say the least. It was all for the information about the ancient relic site obtained from his core formation cave abode. Contained within were opportunities related to core formation. But now that Feng Yu was dead, all their efforts had gone to waste. Not good. Upon seeing this, Lu Chongqing knew that the group of robber cultivators was well prepared for his talisman formation. He immediately sacrificed the remaining 7,200 profound truth tactic posts, anchoring the talismans in all directions to form an iron shield. He then activated part of the talisman formation. Their magic auras connected, whipping up a fierce storm of fire, sweeping towards the bald man. Second brother, this kid is tricky. Don't give him any chances. The man in a red robe yelled to the bald man. As he spoke, the red dragon pattern long saber in his hand roared with fiery energy, the brilliance of its flame soaring to the sky, slashing a long dragon made of flames dozens of yards long, turning the flickering darkness below the great formation into a crimson glow, intent on burning all of Lu Changsheng's talismans to ashes. Big brother, I understand. The bald man spoke in a deep voice, his muscles swelling and throbbing, with a glint of gold glistening as he tossed a string of light gold Buddha beads towards the bronze spear in the sky. Following that, holding a black short stick, he charged towards Lu Miaoge like a wrathful King Kong, his aura ferocious. He had instantly recognized that Lu Changsheng's strength and tactics were far superior to Lu Miaoge's and much more difficult to deal with. Lu Miaoge was currently maneuvering the talisman treasure, unable to fend off others. Attacking her could also distract Lu Chongqing. Sister Miaoge, just use the talisman to protect yourself. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng's sleeves fluttered as more talismans flew out, merging with the talisman formation, whipping up fierce winds and fire to block the bald man. At the same time, he commanded the six-winged golden silkworm to strike at the bald man. Red Sun Fire Dragon Cover. The man in the red robe spewed forth a stream of crimson radiance from his mouth. A small, flame-like red cover appeared, enveloping the man, circling above his head, cloaking his entire body. Then, holding the red dragon pattern long saber, he summoned a series of flame dragons, rushing close to attack Lu Chongqing. He knew that in the face of Lu Chongqing in such a situation, he absolutely could not give him a chance to catch his breath. Otherwise, once he regained his composure, he might have some kind of trump card or reserve tactic. Close combat. Well then, let's see if you can withstand the power of my divine skills. Lu Chongqing watched the man in the red robe charging towards him, then glanced at Lu Miaoge, his expression becoming fierce. He had no intention of dragging out the battle and prepared for a quick and decisive conclusion. 9 treasures Rui Bone, 9-colored tribulation light. With a thunderous sound, it was as though a volcano had erupted or a river had broken its banks within his chest, much like the thunderous roar that resonated with a grand and mysterious aura. From afar, Lu Chongqing appeared like a deity, his mana surging around him, instilling dread in those who watched. The bald man and Lu Miaoge beside couldn't help but glance at Lu Chongqing, unsure of what was happening. The next moment, a tsunami of resplendent 9-color divine light burst forth from Lu Changsheng's chest, surging and endless. Within the tribulation light, runic symbols undulated like wriggling tadpoles, exuding an aura that could suppress and destroy all forms of magic. What kind of technique is this? The man in the red robe could not recognize the divine skills and felt an ominous palpitation from Lu Changsheng's immeasurably powerful technique. Not daring to be the slightest bit negligent, he pushed his red sun fire dragon cover to its limits, the spiritual light flashing wildly and the aura of fire churning, with a fierce and impressive fire dragon coiling atop the shield. Boom! As the 9-color tribulation light descended, the dozens of yards-long flame dragons that the man in the red robe had slashed out instantly disintegrated into ashes. Immediately after, the fire dragon coiled around his protective shield let out a mournful cry, dissipating visibly to the naked eye. How is this possible? The man in the red robe's eyes revealed disbelief as he quickly exerted his full strength to drive the red sun fire dragon cover. Countless red spiritual blossoms burst forth, transforming into a series of fire dragons. But no sooner had a fire dragon appeared than it was scattered by the nine-colored light, turned to ash. In merely an instant, the man in the red robe felt his mana being rapidly drained, struggling to maintain his efforts, his face turning pale, his breath ragged. Meanwhile, Lu Chongsheng stood with an indifferent expression, like a deity presiding over life and death, showing no signs of excessive strain. Humming, the red sun fire dragon cover hovering above his head buzzed continuously, cracks appearing on its surface. How is this possible? How can he, at the initial stage of Foundation establishment, have such mana to wield such a technique? The man in the red robe's face contorted in pain, blood oozing from his 7 orifices, unable to utter a word. If it weren't for the mismatch in Lu Changsheng's mana aura, showing no sign of core formation, he would have believed that the man before him was a false core immortal. He had once encountered a false core immortal whose attacks were nowhere near as domineering. The next moment, Chapter 716, The Power of the Nine-Colored Tribulation Light, Dual Cultivation Technique. But under the strike of the nine-colored escape light, he felt excruciating pain throughout his body. Each part felt as though it was being torn apart cruelly. To say nothing of facing the six-winged golden silkworm. Even facing an energy-refining cultivator, he now found it difficult to fend off, only to see the six-winged golden silkworm killing its way over. His chest was directly penetrated by the golden light, and blood gushed forth. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Seeing the blood, the savage nature of the six-winged golden silkworm was completely triggered. It frantically tore, gnawed, and sucked the blood. No! The red-robed giant roared in despair, his mouth filled with blood. But at this moment, he was powerless to resist the actions of the six-winged golden silkworm. He only felt his internal organs being gnawed, blood being drawn, his whole body in unbearable pain, becoming increasingly weak, and his consciousness blurring. Big Brother. The bald giant was shocked upon witnessing this scene, eyes filled with disbelief. Having followed the red-robed giant all these years, he was very much aware of his brother's prowess. Skilled in both martial and magical arts at the peak of Foundation establishment, among Foundation builders, he was an unbeatable existence. Even when facing off against false core immortals, he could stand a few exchanges before escaping. But now he had been so swiftly defeated at the hands of Lu Chongsheng, a defeat most miserable. At that moment, without hesitation, he decisively took out a talisman to flee for his life. After all, if his cheap big brother couldn't win, not being a match for Lu Chongsheng, continuing the fight was merely courting death. As for brotherly affection, although there was some, it was not much. You think you can escape? Seeing this, Lu Chongsheng immediately freed up his hands, forming seals with both hands, and caused 10,809 mysteries true seals to block the bald giant's escape in every direction. At the same time, talismans flew out from his sleeves, connecting in a talisman formation, with wind aiding fire, fierce gales sweeping across, and roaring flames surging. Kill! Lu Miaoga, seeing this, also immediately propelled her bronze spear towards the bald giant. Fellow Taoist, if you are willing to spare me, I have a grand opportunity to offer you. With his escape blocked by the talisman formation and attacks bearing down on him, the bald giant quickly released several defense talisman, creating walls of golden light to defend against the assaults. Wind, Fire, Thunder, Talisman Array, Kill. Lu Chongsheng had an indifferent expression, turning a deaf ear. Surprisingly, though, this golden great bell actually had the ability to self-repair. The cracks that appeared on it were visibly mending at a rate perceptible to the naked eye. Phew, phew, phew. Seeing this, Lu Changsheng fired off another 18 second-rank talismans. Hoo. With the addition of these 18 second-rank talismans, the power of the entire talisman formation immediately increased, linked with the 9 mysteries' true seals, totally fierce and turbulent. Damn it! How does he have so many talismans? Watching Lu Changsheng with so many talismans, the bald giant's face grew uglier and uglier. Although the Golden Great Bell had self-repair ability, it was dependent on his own mana. Under such relentless bombardment, his mana couldn't keep up at all. Fellow Taoist, as long as you are willing to spare my life, I am willing to submit and serve you. The bald giant continued to shout out. Although he was a Foundation establishment great cultivator, having survived in the cultivation world for so long, he knew when to be tough and when to bend. However, Lu Changsheng was still unmoved. While he didn't mind taking on followers, he looked at the person and the situation. Boom, boom, boom. Under the onslaught of the talisman formation, the Golden Great Bell finally began to lose its luster. The cracks no longer healed. But by the time he realized that something was amiss and his elder brother was being suppressed, it was already too late for escape. Swoosh! Lu Changsheng, wielding the true Yang 5-element sword, made a fierce slash forward. Fierce and domineering 7 luminaries' sword chi emerged, shooting towards the sinister man. Damn it! The sword chi tore through the air, forcing the sinister man's complexion to change slightly. He formed seals with his hands, and from his fan flickered rays of light that spiraled in the air, materializing into multicolored light barriers in front of him. The 7 luminaries' sword chi was incredibly sharp, successively breaking through the light barriers. The sinister man's face darkened at this scene, and he called out, "Honored cultivators, I am a second-rank array master. If you spare me, I'll be at your service should you ever require my skills, no matter the task." His strength was average, merely at the Foundation establishment middle stage. The reason he managed to be brotherly with the red-robed and bald men was due to his skill in formations. After all, for robbers, having an array master was beneficial for exploring ancient ruins, ambushing and killing, or breaking into other spiritual lands. However, both Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge remained silent, continuing their assault on the sinister man. Water Dragon Technique, kill! Lu Miaoge's hands flew through seals, controlling the water dragon as it surged towards the sinister man. The sinister man still relied on his folding fan and activated talismans to fend off their attacks. But against the water dragon and sword chi, he could barely manage a defense. A moment later, pierce! A sound of piercing the air echoed. The true Yang 5 elements sword burst forth, transforming into a streak of light that punctured the sinister man's chest. I refuse to accept this. The sinister man immediately grunted, vomiting blood, his face filled with unwillingness. The sword chi was merciless, erupting forth and instantly slicing the sinister man's body into several pieces, snuffing out his life energy. "Everything should be taken care of now," Lu Changsheng said, looking toward Lu Miaoge. "Unless there are robber cultivators hiding in the marketplace, there shouldn't be any left," Lu Miaoge replied, taking out the array plate and sensing for a moment before she spoke. "Tonight, the robber cultivators who caused chaos in the Red Leaf Valley Market have all been suppressed. To all affected, I, Lu Changsheng, hereby extend my apologies for any disturbance and inconvenience caused. In 3 days, our Red Leaf Valley Market will provide an explanation for tonight's events. Additionally, to ensure everyone's safety, the marketplace will be closed for a few days for an examination to root out any remaining robber cultivators." Although she wanted it, she knew the talisman treasure was precious, and giving it to her would not make full use of its power, which would be a waste. Huan, just keep it. I have a talisman treasure too, Lu Miaoga said, looking at her considerate sister with a gentle smile. She took out her bronze spear charm and said softly, "Then I'll accept it. Thank you, husband," Lu Miaohuan said, visibly happy as she accepted the talisman treasure and kissed Lu Changsheng to show her gratitude. Lu Changsheng chuckled at the young lattice reaction and began to inspect several items from a storage bag that appeared to be rare. Transforming dragon ginseng, illusion heart grass, blue spiritual liquid. Changsheng, these are auxiliary materials for crafting a foundation building elixir, Lu Miaoga suddenly said, looking at the spiritual medicines. Illusion heart grass? Lu Changsheng raised an eyebrow upon hearing this. It was the only ingredient he was missing for crafting the foundation establishment elixir, and he didn't expect to find it here. Chapter 719, Settling the Gains. Treasure Map. It seems they were preparing to refine a batch of foundation establishment elixirs. Now, they're just short of a heavenly spirit fruit and a special monster core of the second rank, Lu Changsheng said with a laugh. With this illusion heart grass, he could start refining foundation establishment elixirs when he got back. If we collect a heavenly spirit fruit or a special second rank monster core later, we can directly gather all the ingredients for a batch of foundation establishment elixirs. Even if we don't use them ourselves, these few spiritual medicines are also quite valuable, Lu Miaoga said with a smile on her face. Although she was a foundation establishment cultivator and had seen some of the world, she had never had such a bountiful harvest before. The three of them chatted while they sorted through their loot. Red Sun Melting Gold Technique, an exquisite level cultivation technique. Cultivating the Red Sun True, Fire, melding with 100 Refined Pure Gold. Black Tiger Overpowering Body, an exquisite level cultivation technique. Infusing body with essence blood of tiger lineage demon beasts, refining the flesh, capable of demonic transformation. Lu Changsheng found 2 jade slips inside a brocade box. He knew these must be the cultivation techniques practiced by the Red Robe Man. He glanced over briefly. The Red Sun Melting Gold technique was quite good, but the Black Tiger Overpowering Body was less so. Although the physical body became strong and domineering, far surpassing ordinary body refinement techniques, the process of refining affected one's nature, blending the essence blood of demon beasts into one's body, and caused one's physique to grow increasingly massive. Setting the brocade box aside, Lu Changsheng continued to inspect another brocade box. As soon as this box was opened, a burst of intense heat and a fragrant scent invigorated Lu Changsheng's spirit slightly. Is this fire marrow date? Lu Changsheng saw a date-sized item inside the brocade box, resembling a piece of agate on fire. This fire marrow date was an important auxiliary material for refining the coagulation crystal elixir. However, Lu Changsheng's recognition of this fire date wasn't because of the coagulation crystal elixir's ingredients. Instead, this fire marrow date was one of the core formation's spiritual objects. Consuming alone could potentially enhance the effect of cultivating fire attribute techniques during the push to core formation. Fire marrow date. This is a core formation spiritual object, somewhat helpful for breaking through to core formation, and also one of the main auxiliary materials for the coagulation crystal elixir. Lu Miaoga was also excited when she saw the agate date. She said to Lu Changsheng, "Changsheng, you can also start gathering some core formation spiritual objects now and collect the materials for the coagulation crystal elixir." There's no hurry, Lu Changsheng chuckled and replied. With this fire marrow date, today's expenditure on talismans has been recouped. He and Lu Miaoga had used a total of 5 supreme talismans of the second rank, 9 middle grade talismans of the second rank, 27 lower grade talismans of the second rank, and 81 first-grade talismans in their prior battle. Not to mention Lu Miaoga's single strike with her talisman treasure, The total cost was about 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. Yet, just this one fire marrow date was worth 30 to 40,000 spirit stones. It took the better half of an hour for the three to clear out the storage bags of the 6 robber cultivators. Inside, there were 319 middle-grade spirit stones and 23,052 lower-grade spirit stones. 3 supreme spiritual artifacts, 2 superior spiritual artifacts, 3 middle-grade spiritual artifacts, 5 lower-grade spiritual artifacts, and 4 supreme magic artifacts. However, 2 of the supreme spiritual artifacts were the divine fire cover and golden bell of the red-robed man and the bald man, respectively. One was severely damaged by the 9 tribulations divine light. The other was directly battered beyond repair during the chaos of the talisman formation, almost rendered to scrap. The other spiritual artifacts were relatively undamaged, at most having minor wear. Apart from spirit stones, spiritual artifacts, magic artifacts, elixir medicines, talisman, spiritual medicine, cultivation technique inheritances, and a pile of other precious spiritual materials, 1 third-rank purple dragon would particularly surprise Lu Xianxia. This kind of spiritual wood that could be used to make talisman paper was very rare in the usual course of things. Pan Yuan turning technique. Lu Xianxia inspected each jade slip. This was a technique jade slip, admittedly a peripheral sect-level cultivation technique within. However, this cultivation technique, like the Red Phoenix true scripture he obtained before, could only be cultivated up to the core formation stage. There was nothing further. 2 peripheral sect-level cultivation techniques, both only reaching up to the core formation stage. Is this a coincidence, or what? Lu Xianxia frowned slightly, deep in thought. Although it could only be cultivated up to core formation, it was still considered a top-tier technique. Counting this peripheral sect-level technique, Lu Xianxia had garnered 3 exquisite-level techniques in this haul, as well as a second-rank superior talisman path inheritance and a formation path insights from the effeminate man.